Had some issues there, but I think we're good. All right. Indie Phantom, welcome to Piney. Oh, Indie Phantom joined my, has got a subscription. Thank you, Piney. All right. Thank you for that, and welcome to the live stream, where we do it live. We've got, of course, lots of movies on tap. We are going to talk about the box office, which, holy cow, it's crazy. It's a bit crazy this week. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to dip into the trades. And inevitably, we are going to talk about the debate. Now, I don't want to get into the debate first, because once I get into the debate, I'm probably not coming out of it for quite a while. So don't push me into the debate too early, because I know it's going to come up. And it's going to be crazy, because there's so much fallout from the debate. It's literally a black hole for news right now. So, but welcome all to the live stream where we do it live. Okay, we got that. Okay, everything's ready. Everything's ready. So, as always, we're a little early, and I'm going to start things off, as I always do, telling you about my week before we get to 7. So, what did I do this week? Well, I went to Sunrose Books and Music, or Sunrose Words and Music, as it is called. Great lady runs that place, and great staff, and they always invite me down every year to do a signing, and it's always a good time. Always a good time there. Then on Friday, I went to Crossroad Comics and Collectibles from 4 to 7, and that was in Pittman. It's the fourth Friday. I'm probably going to be back sometime in July or August. They do like a Wednesday thing. I might be outside the store, kind of with the store sort of thing. So that was nice too. It's always great to see Liz and her staff there. We had some nice pizza. And then on today, yesterday I had a great day off, by the way. Awesome day off. Oh, I finally got to relax. I felt like I was going nonstop this month. And then today I went to, last time I'm saying this, Cowtown Showdown Motorcycle Car and Truck Show and Swap Meet at the Salem County Fairgrounds. I swear that's what it's called. This is the postcard they sent me. They're actually pretty good for like a low-tech operation. Like, they sent me this card at the perfect time. I was able to get my table, and it was all good. So they're nice people, and they had, we thought we were going to be rained out, and we were not. So that was good, because, yeah, getting rained out sucks. I'm just going to flip over just to make sure I started the correct stream, only because for a second I thought I was on the wrong stream. Let me see. Can I get to my... Let me just quick pop over to my channel. Boom, 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 boom. Here I am. Yeah, no, I'm live. I'm live. Yeah, there I am. Okay. Things are going well. I just wanted to check it. Yeah, so today was great. Now, the swap meet really is about motorcycles. A lot of motorcycle guys there. But because they had, I don't know what it is, the last few weeks, they are touting the weather like we're all going to die. Now, in South Jersey, for those of you who don't know, this time of year, it does get a little bit nasty in terms of the thunder and lightning. It gets very humid, and then we get a lot of thunder and lightning. But last weekend, the humidity wasn't that bad. Now, they were predicting high temperatures, and it was kind of hot, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't even that, and we didn't have the humidity. But I had 2 events that were canceled and then pushed back to July. And then today, I thought, oh, God, I think they're going to do it again. And this place has pavilions at the Salem County Fairgrounds. But they didn't cancel. And it did rain while I was driving down. I was like, oh, am I going to make this whole drive just to turn around? But I got there. The rain had stopped. I set up. Had a good day. had a great day. Somebody bought a whole run of books. That was great. And then I sold a bunch more. Got to meet the fine folks there. A lot of tattoos. A lot of tattoos. A lot, people in motorcycles and tattoos kind of go hand in hand. So a lot of great looking ink. I don't have any ink myself. I go through various phases where I really dig it, and then I go, I'm not going to get it. Like, I thought about it, and at one point, I wanted to get, when I was married, I wanted to get my wedding ring tattooed, but the guy talked me out of it. He said it would be super painful, and it's like really hard to do, apparently, which I'm glad, because I'm divorced now. But that and like one other time I really seriously considered it, but I ended up not getting it. And but they say once you get into it, like, you kind of can't stop. It's like a potato chip. You're like, oh, well, I got one, now I got to get the other shoulder, and then I got to get my back, and blah blah blah. So a lot of people had like full sleeves, and you could tell they had a lot more going on. Pretty cool stuff. And everybody, I mean, the one percenters were there. I mean, it was a biker's haven. And but a nice day. The weather held out mostly. Like I said, it rained right in the beginning, and then it cooled off. It was a light breeze, and right at the end it got super hot for some reason. And then by the time I got home, it was like a sauna. It was like a sauna unloading the car. And then I got in, made dinner on the grill out back. It started to rumble. Now it's like pouring rain outside. So perfect timing, I guess. Little Joan was upset because we didn't go for a WALK. Yeah. So disappointment there for little Joan. Yeah, that was basically the week. I did some food shopping, which I love. Now it's like this. Food shopping to me is like the greatest thing in the world because, number one, I can't afford food like all of you. So actually filling my food or my fridge with food is like, oh, I have food again. And then I needed a bunch of other stuff anyway. I hadn't been food shopping for like forever. And it turns out I did forget to get something, which I'm kicking myself for now. But other than that, finally I got some damn food in the house. I had been eating, as you know, my brother's leftover party food for about a week and a half, along with people giving me restaurant food. It was crazy. Like, I hadn't been to the store in like a week, and people were giving me all this food. And I write about that. I think I wrote about that in the Pineys, that Hemingway, the same thing happens. People just give him food. He never really goes shopping, but like for about a week I was like that. It was kind of weird. It also like kind of threw me off in that I didn't have certain foods that I always have. Like, you ever have those foods? Like, I always like to have like a piece of fruit, like for, as part of my lunch. Like, I'll have lunch. I don't eat like, I used to eat like tasty cakes and candy after lunch, which, yeah, I shouldn't do that. So at some point I said, I got to eat healthier. So I swapped out the candy and tasty cakes for fruit after lunch. And then I save like if I have dessert, I just have dessert one time a day at the end of the day. So now I have fruit, but if I run out of fruit, I'm like, I don't have my fruit, So it's like one of those things. And now it's blueberry season. Oh, I got to get some blueberries tomorrow. I'm going down south, southern New Jersey, and I'm definitely coming back with blueberries. Oh yeah, baby. And in fact, if I wasn't doing the live stream, I'll tell you where I'd be right now. Royal Crown ice cream, absolutely 100%. Because I got a hankering for that blueberry custard, but I won't be able to get it tomorrow because they're closed. But maybe like Tuesday or this week sometime. It's going to be a crazy July 4th weekend. Not for me in terms of work, though, because I got nothing going on. But after that, I got some stuff going on. And then the rest of the month, and I got to reschedule some stuff. So it's going to be, it's a crazy summer, man. It's a crazy summer, but I'm here for it. I just got some new Pineys books, too. So I know I'm talking about all kinds of things just in my life, but I don't often have a lot of excitement in my life anymore, so this is nice. It's a refreshing change to be a little bit like, I got all these things going on. Anyhow, let's get into it. I've dragged my feet enough, Joan. Now everybody will get in for the box office late and ask me the same damn questions. Here we go. Do. The box office. And the big surprise this week is Inside Out 2 continues its reign at top of the box office for a third week in a row. Stunning. A real stunner. That's crazy. Inside Out 2 is number one again. A 43% drop, dropping to 57.4 million, but that's better than most movies on their premiere. And it's better than 2 movies on their premiere right here. So this is quite the stunner. Inside Out 2 is probably going to do $1 billion, I'm predicting. Let's see where it's at now. Come on. What the hell's happening to the website? You tell me this is out. Don't go out on me. Don't you dare die on me, internet. It's very possible I could go out because of all the lightning. Boy, this is really not working. Oh, there it goes. Slow internet. Jesus. Holy frig. Super slow. That's not good. That doesn't bode well. Oh, come on. Oh, that's not good at all. That's going to jam me up. I might have to go to the trades at this rate. What the hell? Oh, there we go. Oh, we're already at $1 billion. Wow. They did it already. That's crazy. Okay. That's $1 billion. I knew it was going to happen. I didn't think it would happen on the third week. Wow. I thought it would take I thought they'd be close this week, but no, they're 14 million over. Expect a lot of sequels. A ton of sequels on this. Oh yeah. This you think Toy Story had a lot of sequels? Oh, this is gonna go to 5. I think it looks like Bill Hader made a mistake dropping out of this movie. Who else dropped out? I forget. Kristen Wiig, maybe? Holy F. Mexico. Jesus. 63 million in Mexico? The Mexicans love this thing? Who knew? Has it opened in China yet? Yeah. Didn't do that great. Only 10 million in China? That's weird. I would have thought it would have done better than that. I mean, it doesn't have anything objectionable to the Chinese, and it seems like a lot of fluff, but that's crazy though in Mexico. 63 million. Here it did 29 million on its opening day. Anything come close to that? No. Wow. Okay. So doing well and not doing bad in UK and 29 million and 28 million in South Korea. Phew. This movie's got legs, baby. Did the first movie even do this well? That's an interesting question. I'm gonna dare I find out. I don't think this first movie made $1 billion, did it? I think I already checked this, but I already forgot. Are we really gonna go through this? Man, why is the site so slow? Or is that the internet? It might be the internet because of the thunderstorms, which is gonna make this effing arduous. All right, Inside Out. Oh, that's wrong. Whoa, there's a lot of movies called Inside Out. What? Weird. All right, I'm going to put that in another tab. Okay, we're back to this. Get back to the weekend. Okay, we're going to... It did 850 million, and with the home market, almost made $1 billion. But still, usually the sequel doesn't make as much money. So, look at that. It actually did better than the first movie already. And this is only the third week. So we're at 57 million. Say 100 million for this week. We're looking at another 50 million next week. Probably another 25 million after that. When you add that all up, it's probably going to do at least another 100 million. So we're looking at 1.1 billion, maybe 1.2. That's nuts. That's a monster. How do I explain it? That's a good question. It could be that Disney torpedoed so many of their IPs. There's just nothing else to compete against it. But it did compete against the Garfield movie, which did okay, and If, which really didn't do that great. I don't know. People just like this movie. I guess it's good. I guess there's something to it. Now, number two, premiering at number 2, A Quiet Place Day 1, which I have zero interest in this movie. It's a prequel. F prequels. And, A Quiet Place looked okay. I thought about watching the first movie, but no. I did not. 53 million, which isn't a bad start. I'm going to put this in a different tab because now I'm afraid nothing will load. Hear how it all began. Do I really need to know that? And now that I haven't seen it, let's see. Yeah, we don't have a budget. I got to think this was a fairly big budget movie. So 53 million. Oh, what was the worldwide? 53 million. Probably cost 100 million, 120, something like that. Yeah, we're at 98. So I think this will be money. Give it another week or two. Then there's number 3 is Horizon, An American Saga, Chapter 1. Now, Razor Fist and John Nolte over at Breitbart both recommend this movie. The rest of the critics, so far I've seen, most of the mainstream guys are giving it kind of a wishy-washy, it's a Western, so what? I kind of want to see it. Mainly because Razor Fist likes it, and he's a big-time Western aficionado. But 11 million is not great start. We have international box. We don't have any international box office yet. So, for some reason, we don't have the numbers. This should do well in the UK, though. They love Westerns. Oh, man. The Brits love a good Western. So, I think this will do... It's a 50... I read that it's $50 million that Kevin Costner put up his own money. So, it's only got to do 50 million. We're at 11 million. I think this is probably money. At least on the budget. That's another thing for A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place, man, they poured a ton of money on the advertising, so that should probably break even on the budget, but I don't know about the advertising. Horizon, I don't know. 100 million is going to be tough to make, but it'll definitely make 50. And I don't think it did a ton of advertising, but after seeing Inside Out do gangbusters, maybe this will, if word of mouth hits, maybe it does well. I don't know, but Jesus, it's only 11 million. That's pretty short for a Kevin Costner movie. Number 4, dropping from 2, Bad Boys Ride or Die. This movie did pretty good. Okay, I think the connection's back. 331 million on a movie that cost 100. So that's money. Yeah, that's definitely money. So, yeah, they're already talking 5. The Bike Riders, 3.3 million. This is not doing great. 23 million. Unless, did this cost nothing? Doesn't say. Doesn't say. I don't know. It's a period piece. So some decent names in it. I mean, I can't see it being $100 million, but it could definitely crack 50. But in terms of the money it's going to make, I mean, we're at 3 million now. That doesn't bode well. And it doesn't look like it's doing well internationally even. It's doing like half. So if you look at it that way, you know, maybe this cracks 5 million worldwide this week. Next week, you're lucky to do 2.5, and then 1 million, then it's basically done. I mean, once movies start doing less than $1 million, I mean, it's not good. This is week 2, and it dropped by 66%. I love Tom Hardy. I could watch just about anything he's in, and he looks good in this. But what are you gonna do? I mean, I think the guys at the Cowtown Showdown truck, car, and motorcycle swap meet, and what's the other thing? Swap meet and show and swap meet. They might like the bike riders. I mean, because a lot of them are bikers. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if they know about it. Nobody talked about it. That's rough. It's kind of an art house movie, but it has a feel for a movie that should be more mainstream. Number 6 is the Garfield movie, dropping from 5, 2 million. This made its money. Yeah, 239 million on a movie that cost them 60. That's cash money. Cash money, baby. So Chris Pratt does it again. His box office is stellar. Even his stinkers did okay. You know, it was that Netflix movie where he fights the aliens. It's not a great flick, but he's good in it. I forget what it was called. I don't know how they rate that in terms of the money, because I don't think it went to theaters, but The Terminalist was good, though. I mean, then Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, dropping to 7 from 4, 1.7 million. This friggin' franchise won't die. They're gonna make another one. I mean, 387 million on 160 million. You're damn right they're gonna make another one. I don't know what they're gonna do next. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're out of the old movies. What was it? So, Planet of the Apes. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I think there's 5 altogether. Alright? And then after that, they go back in time to when it starts. Like at the beginning. And that was supposed to be the James Franco movie. And then the next one as Society's, or next 2, is, I think they've already done 5. So, what do you do with this? I don't know. They'll do another one. I don't know. Maybe they'll start over. Oh, God, if they start over. I'm so sick of franchises, quite frankly. I know, it's weird to say, but... And look, people like it. Sure, keep making them, but make new ones. Keep making new ones. Again, I don't know what you're going to do. You could do Planet of the Apes versus Aliens. That could be interesting. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see something a little different. Oh, man, I think it jammed up again. Having issues with the internet today. You know, if you just took Planet of the Apes and did anything else with them, anything else at all, let me just make sure I'm on here. I do have 2 likes. So somebody was in here, but nobody's around yet. I don't know. People doing stuff, I guess. So, yeah, with the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, where could you go? Other than adding aliens? I mean, I guess you could really take it to the extreme and show them farther downstream when they're like accountants working in offices and stuff. It would be kind of cool, and then you could get back to where Mark Wahlberg was in that bizarre twist ending that Tim Burton came up with, which was just dumb, just dumb. Um, so maybe you could do that, or you could do, you've got a bunch of advanced apes, and they launch, a group of apes, and of course they end up coming back, and it's a planet of humans, and it all starts over again. I don't know what more you could do with it. I think it really just needs to end and move on to anything else. I don't know what number we're on. It looks like number 8. Kinds of Kindness. Okay, so they jammed this into more theaters in an attempt to get its ratings up, and it worked a little bit on this. 1.5 million. This is the same guy who did Poor Things, and that's why it has Emma Stone in it. It's got William Dafoe. It looks very pretentious. I have zero interest in it. I would rather see more apes, quite frankly. I mean, kind of bored with the apes, but at least I would understand it. I hate pretentious movies. I really do. I mean, if you've got a message that's undeniable, maybe, you give me a good art house movie and you really trick me and come up with something clever. But Kinds of Kindness, Poor Things, and these kinds of movies, they don't impress me at all. Not at all. They look way too artsy fartsy for me. But whatever. And they don't make a ton of money, but I don't know. Hollywood loves them. They got to give Oscars to something. 3.1 million worldwide. So it made about half its money this weekend in its second week. Up 298%. So you can't really get a read on this because now it's in almost 500 theaters. So we'll see. We'll see if it takes off. Then dropping to like 8 is IF or If. This felt like a movie that shouldn't have gotten in the theaters. This felt like a movie that should have went direct to streaming. I mean, 183 million on a movie that costs 110. That might be money. I don't know. They spent a lot of money on advertising. I saw ads on this everywhere. But, Ryan Reynolds is still doing well. I don't think that'll be a loss for them, but looks like it's going out of theaters. So I think it's done, 7th week. Number, looks like 9 or 10, Thelma. I kind of want to see Thelma. It's in its second week. It only dropped by 43%. Not in a ton of theaters. 5.1 million. It looks fun. I don't know. I probably won't catch it until it hits streaming. Next premiering at, let me count it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Premiering at number 11, Blue Lock, the movie. This sounds like anime. Yeah, Crunchyroll, yeah. 1.05 million. So, is there worldwide on this thing? No. How is there no worldwide on an anime movie that was obviously made in another country? I guess it hasn't been released in theaters there. It was on TV, maybe? The hell are we getting TV shows shown in theaters here for? Fall Guy, still in theaters. I almost want to see this movie. I kind of almost did. But it was on... it was hanging out on my date, and we were thinking of movies, and this was one of the proposed ones, but man, it was like $20 to rent, and I was like, F that. With a streaming service, you think I'm paying for a movie? I didn't want her to pay for a movie either. I know, you say, oh, you're cheap. Fall Guy's not worth paying for, I don't think. It's the kind of movie I'll see, because I kind of like the TV series. It didn't look that good. Didn't get great reviews. So I think they kind of phoned it in, which is a shame because Lee Majors, I think, makes an appearance. Janet Planet, an art house movie, did 187,000. It's in its second week. Another one they're trying to jack up. Next, The Strangers Chapter 1. This movie made its money. It's in its seventh week, but going away. Robot Dreams still hanging around for 50K in its fifth week. I don't think that's money. Nah, but it's an animated cartoon. Ghost Light from IFC. In its third week, 48,000. Babes. Adios, Babes. In its seventh week. How'd this thing stay 7 weeks in the theater? And made 3.7 million? Yeah. It shows you the audience for a feminist comedy. It doesn't exist. Wasn't enough of an audience there. What did this thing cost? It probably cost nothing to shoot, though. Nope, they don't list it. So 3.7 million. I bet that's not the production budget, so that's probably why they're not showing it. I would guess it probably cost at least 5 to 10 million, because you just can't shoot anything at that level without spending 5 to 10 million. You just can't. It's not an indie movie, really. It's like a high-end indie movie. I mean, it's from Neon. They're not going to spend $3 million on a production. They got to spend at least 5, I would say. Last Summer from Janus Films, premiering in 3 theaters for $30,000. Do I know this film? Looks like a summer love movie, and it looks to be foreign. Le Terre d'Inier. I don't know what that language is. I saw the TV Glow, still hanging around in its 9th week. This art house movie hangs around for 9 weeks. Okay, I guess they're trying to get it to crack 5 million. That one might cost under 4.9 million. It doesn't look very expensive. Tuesday, it's in its 4th week. I don't even know, $8,334. The Vordelak, premiering in 1 theater. No movie poster. No. Let's read the write-up. All is not well inside the lush forest of Eastern Europe. In this reimagining of Alexei's Konstanovich Tolstoy classic novella, The Family of the Vordelak, the Marquis d'Urte, is lost, seeking shelter on the estate of Old Gorcha, a supposed ally of the French king, but Gorcha is missing from the house when the Marquis appears, and the old man's bizarre and secretive family seems all too remiss to share the details. The story is one of frivolous passions, flaming egos, furtive struggles against the status quo of masculinity. All these come together to form a screening event that is, by all accounts, well and truly terrifying. This is modern horror told almost in the mournful retrospective, an homage to long-forgotten folklore. Sounds like it's in my wheelhouse, but man, that wind-up is a bit much. An intimate, violent nature bringing up the rear. A movie I thought that would do better than it did. No one seemed to pick up on it. And the entire weekend is 144 million, so Hollywood is doing okay last 2 weeks, mostly thanks to Inside Out. And now A Quiet Place. So finally we're in the summer. I mean, still, it's not a lot. It's like maybe the minimal acceptable amount of box office, I guess. I don't know. We go back 10 years, and I bet it's crazy. Let's see if I can. 2014. Let's see what a week in June was like in 2014. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do it this way. June. Oh. Box office weekend annual. Here we go. Annual. For 2024. That's not what we want. Oh, here we go. 2023. (2022) 2021. I got to do it this way, unfortunately. 2020. I'm going to go back to 2014. 2019. 2018. 2018. Come on. 2017. 16. 15. All right, 2014. Total box office was 11 billion. So the biggest weekends of, let's say, 2015. So you're looking at weekends like 247 million, 208 million. Here's June 2019, 106 million. So pretty big numbers. I mean, some of these are under 100 million. Oh, here's the year. Here's Inside Out, 90 million. That weekend. Interesting. So actually doing better for Inside Out 10 years ago. But again, this is 2014 numbers, and you got to add what? I don't know, a third of the money now with the ticket prices up and everything else. So Don the Second is here. Sup, Tony, says Don the Second. Sup, Don. Good to see you. I'm glad somebody's here. I thought the chat was dead. I don't know where everybody is this week. Just finished up box office. So, not a bad week. Not a bad week. Still, though, you'd think the summer would be 200 million? But, all right. It's time to do the trades, Don. The Second. Time to do the trades. The big story, of course, Inside Out 2 breaks $1 billion. Crazy. Crazy this movie is the one to do it. Disney's not dead yet. Not dead yet. But the upshot is, this wasn't a woke movie. Everybody's telling me it's not woke. So maybe they'll get the message and stop trying to change every kid into a transgender kid and stop doing drag queen story hour every 10 seconds. I don't know, though. Michael J. Fox was playing with Coldplay at the Glastonbury Festival, and he was playing guitar, which I thought was kind of cool. I guess he's doing his bucket list. Alex is here. Hey, Alex. What does woke mean? Oh, boy. I'll get back to that in a sec. Don the Second says, LOL, Pixar still got it, apparently. Okay. Are we going to... I don't know if you're messing with me, Alex, but I'll tell you what woke means. Woke means you are doing stuff just basically to virtue signal. That's all the reason you're doing it. You don't really mean it, but you're doing it in order to show everybody else what a great person you are to various marginalized groups, let's say. But you don't mean any of it, really. You don't really care about that. It's about you. It's not about that. It also ties into a lot of other stuff, too. Here's Don the Second. Woke equals progressive at this point. Yeah, pretty much. The progressives have gone off the reservation. When I was young, to say you were a progressive or liberal, you know, you were, you know, for things like you were for the underdog was the idea initially. Alex, I see. How can you tell when they really mean it? You can't. You can't. Um, what one distinction is this: if it's a corporation, they 100% definitely do not mean it. Disney does a bunch of woke things like putting, um, a lesbian love story in Lightyear that was completely unnecessary, and adding, again, like a bunch of programming like they've done with Star Wars. They made Star Wars all about women for no real sensible reason, no organic reason creatively, and no reason, in my view, that would make them more profit. Like Star Wars as a brand is a boys brand. It mainly was aimed at 18 to 35-year-old men. Now they're trying to transform that into something for women and little girls, and it's blowing up in their face. Because, women see movies and entertainment differently. They see it through the lens of their own experience. And most women are very into their relationships. They have a nurturing instinct, most women do, and they like people to get along. So when they think about their entertainment, their thoughts are not, oh, is this a good movie? Their first instinct is, will everybody else like this movie? Right? So if you've ever gone into a group thing and maybe your girlfriend organizes it, she's going to be probably more concerned that everybody else like the movie as a group than her taste in particular. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, of course. There are some women who are, they're just super into movies or super into horror movies or whatever. But they're on the end of the bell curve. Most women are going to be more concerned about the group's vibe than the particular movie. And in fact, I think most women, if they could go to a movie that they hate, but they know that everybody in the group will really like, they'll absolutely go. Now, they may not, they may say, well, I'll wait outside in the car or whatever, but they'll totally, double down on that. Whereas a guy is different. A guy is going to be, no, I want to watch a good movie. Most guys. Some guys are more like women. They're going to be like, well, I really want everybody to enjoy it. And there's everything in between. But the tendency will be that a guy's going to go for the more logic and reasoned approach, where the female tend to go for a more of a vibe. They're going with more intuition. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking that strategy. Sometimes that's a good strategy. It's good to have, if you have a woman in your life and you're you're hardcore about something like I am with movies, sometimes it's good to have your girlfriend, come on, like everybody wants to go see this movie, just go with everybody. That's perfectly fine. But it's also perfectly fine the other way too. It's perfectly fine for the guy to say, no, I got to veto this. This is going to be a crap movie. We're all going to have a terrible time. We should go to the better movie, and you'll all thank me later. So, right now, we're going through this phase in which movie companies have decided, well, we're going to hand everything over to women, and everything will be great. The problem is, they haven't been in charge before. Not really. Not like this. Jordan Peterson talks about how the 70s brought about a change for women because with the advent of the pill, for the first time in history, women had control of their reproductive situation, right? So women in the 70s could finally take this pill and go, wow, I won't get pregnant, even if I have sex without a condom. Now, there are other dangers, but that sort of gave them the first ability to go live their lives and know that they couldn't get pregnant, right? So this gave rise to the more women that could be in the corporate world or, be in politics. But in the 70s, they hadn't quite gotten there yet. It just started. Now you fast forward to 20 years later, there were some women, and that's when things started to get a little wonky. But now they've come into their own, and they have some actual power. But unlike men who have had power in the past, and we kind of know our way around those levers of power to some degree, I don't think women quite understand what they're doing. In that most women, I think throughout history, had a very indirect power. It wasn't that they weren't powerful, it's just that their power was indirect. So you would get, say, a queen and a king. And the king might be powerful, but the queen could be more powerful because she could influence her husband so much, right? So she might be the power behind the throne. Not always. Sometimes it wasn't. But you'd have this situation where you had these women rulers, but they were ruling sort of this indirect way. Which, when you think about it from a strategic purpose, it's kind of smart, right? If you're not really in charge, you can't really be blamed for the mistakes. And then when the guy in charge goes away, well, you can just continue to be in charge with somebody else at the helm. Alex, what's your ideal role for women in the film industry? There's no specific role, but the problem is I don't think women have acknowledged their own shortcomings in the arena that have normally been run by the men, right? Like, men can do that because, like, if you've ever worked with a group of men, how do they act? Hey, idiot, you didn't file the form right. Go back and do it again. I've worked in places where men have worked, and they will talk to each other in a very brusque manner because they want to get things done. Women don't talk to each other that way. And they will tend to go, they will tend to have this huge wind-up if they're going to criticize somebody because they're petrified that the person they're about to criticize is going to hate them, for instance, especially if it's another woman. So you have these situations in which women will go off the deep end if you even criticize them or blame anybody else but them. And that's sort of the, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a natural defense mechanism of women, which is fine in the home life and outside of work where feelings are more the situation. Like, if you're at home and your girlfriend or wife says, hey, I may have made a mistake, but you don't have to yell at me. Well, that kind of plays, and you could say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. I didn't mean to say it that way, or whatever. That's fine in a home environment. Maybe you were a little brusque, and that's your wife or girlfriend. But as coworkers, you got to suck it up. And unfortunately, I think a lot of women don't. Because I've been in situations working with women where I got my head chewed off because I had no intention of insulting anybody, but I came in and said, oh, this is all messed up. Listen, we got to do this other report. And the woman goes, oh, how dare you talk to me that way? Now, again, men do it too, but it tends to be more women than men. It's just a tendency, I think. LeMay, how do women survive art school? I don't know. I think, and everybody's different, but so there are always exceptions to the rule. There are plenty of women out there. They understand that sort of dynamic or tendency that some women have. They tend to be more nurturing, right? So you can imagine an art school professor, for instance, that never criticizes a student because she just wants to be nice to them. That's nice. That makes her a nice person, but does that make her a good art professor? I would say no. It makes her a terrible one. So all her students love her, but none of her students ever get any better because she's always saying nice things about them. You have to, at some point, say, I'm sorry, this is no good. There's a nice way to do it, but you have to, and again, there's Guys at the opposite end of the spectrum, they're too terse, they're too mean, they're calling everybody a-holes. That's no good either. There's a happy medium in there. Alex, I'll be honest, I'm on the total opposite end of things to you, but I have an interest in other people in life and how they think and feel and appreciate a lot of your explanations. Still, LOL. Well, I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm 58. So, and look, there are always exceptions to the rules. This is not, there are plenty of guys who they're way too emotional, and there's some women who are way too cold. But when it comes to film and in Hollywood and anything else, really, you need a merit-based system. And we don't have a merit-based system when you have people in charge who are giving each other jobs. Like, I'll give you, for instance, in this Alkalite fiasco, Leslie Headland, who's the showrunner, put her wife in one of the lead roles. Now you turn that over and put a man in that position, and the man gives his wife the lead role. I think people are going to say something about it. People are going to be like, "Whoa, you're casting your wife in the lead?" Unless she's a really good actress, and Leslie Headland's wife is not a really good actress from what I've seen. You're going to get some flack about it. But they're okaying it because, why? I think because Leslie Headland's a gay woman and she's in charge, and we can't criticize certain people at this time, and that's one of the people we can't criticize. Now, some people are criticizing it online and getting a lot of flack for it, but Disney is not operating the way it should be. Disney should not be doing what it's doing. Here's what Disney should be doing. Disney should be making Star Wars for boys, because it's a boys brand. It's for 18 to 35-year-old males. So what Star Wars movies should be is lots of action, rescuing the princess, pew, 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 and spaceships and aliens and all that happy crap. There should be a lot of that going on. What's going on in Star Wars now are a lot of women, pronouns, and all sorts of nonsense that have nothing to do with action and adventure. Nobody in my family remembers I do a live stream every single Sunday. No one. No one remembers, and they call me every single Sunday at this time. I'm doing the live stream. Every time. Every Sunday they call. And every Sunday I tell them I was doing the live stream. Alex, what do you reckon they should make for the girls who like Star Wars? They can make girly Star Wars stuff if they want, but that should be a separate show from the main thing. Because again, what do girls like? I'll tell you what girls would like. They would love a Princess Leia type show, a show completely about princesses. That's what they would love. Oh my God, they would go nuts. You'd make it the girliest Star Wars thing ever, but you would make it for girls. There'd be ponies in it, alien ponies, castles, all that stuff. You just lean right into it. You can't make it for girl. Like, the Alkalite is not even really for girls. They just put a bunch of women in it and then tried to make a Star Wars brand out of it. A female brand. That's not what girls want. Girls want the girliest things imaginable. I'll give you an example. When Marvel Comics was sane, Marvel Comics had a bunch of comics, and they were always complaining, "Oh, we don't have the women market," even though, again, they were mostly a male brand. But they had the license to Barbie, and they did a Barbie comic, and it was insanely popular with girls. It was nuts how popular the Barbie comic was. I knew somebody who worked on the Barbie comic, and they had a signing during one of the conventions I was at, and there was a line around the block of little girls looking to get their comic signed. That's what girls like. Now, you could argue, like, well, there wasn't a lot of Barbie comics or girl comics back then. There were a few, but yeah, they should have made more of them. I would have kept making more Barbie-like comics, because that's what little girls like. They like Archie and Betty and Veronica. LeMay, Sailor Moon like Star Wars? Yeah. Yeah, for the girls, but you brand it for girls and you say, this is for the girls. But the main Star Wars should be for boys. Don the Second, Tony understands life. I do. You brand it for girls and you do a girly thing. You do all the things girls want to do. And what do they want to do? They like relationships. They like a little intrigue. They like everybody to get along. They like clothes. But you don't take a male brand and then try to cram it down the throat of women. Like, you like this now. Oh, boys, go away. That they didn't even do that. They just expected the boys to keep watching while calling them bigots and racist and misogynist. No, they were all upset. You're ruining our show. You're ruining our thing. Women keep ruining Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, what else? Video games, comic books. They keep ruining everything because I don't know why. I can't tell you why. There's some weird thing that goes back. It's very primal. They just keep invading our spaces and we keep letting them because I guess we're so desperate to get laid. Like, well, maybe the girl will like me if we let her in the clubhouse. No. They're ruining Warhammer. They're ruining everything because they don't understand it and they want to say, oh, no, it's for girls too. No, it's not. Some things are not for girls. Simple. Alex, I think I'm heading off. Thanks again for explaining things. LOL. I have a lot of different ideas, but I appreciate your articulation and thoughts. See you, dude. Have a good stream. Thank you, Alex. You're very polite, and I appreciate that. So, yeah, look, there's plenty of room for entertainment for everyone. You can make comics for girls, and you can make comics for guys. But girls are only going to read so many comics. I ran a comic book shop. I know how many women would come in. And let me tell you what women love to come in and buy. Most of them didn't buy Marvel comics or DC comics. They'd buy independent erotic comics. So we sold a comic called, what the hell was it called? It was about, Bondage Fairies. That was the name. It was called Bondage Fairies. I had women coming in all the time for that damn comic. Do you have the latest issues of Bondage Fairies? I'd be like, let me check. And we had a few copies, and I sold them. And I told the woman we'd order more if you're coming back to the store, but they never did because I think they were a little embarrassed by it. And that was a crazy book. Let me tell you something. Bondage Fairies was fairies having lots of sex, sometimes in midair and sometimes with insects. That was the entire comic. And I never once... LeMay, LOL, Don the Second, bondage is crazy. Yeah, it was nuts. I never once had a woman come into the store and say, oh, do you have the latest X-Men or the latest Superman? Nope. Bondage Fairies, that happened way too many times. They didn't come in for Don a second. Freaky readers. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff. They asked for, if they didn't ask for Bondage Fairies, they asked for my erotic comics. We had a very limited selections. And I'd be like, yeah, we have a few erotic comics. Here's the box. And that's the kind of stuff they were into. Why? Partly, I think it was the sex, but I think it was mostly because it was about sex, it definitely would hinge on relationships, and that's what women are into. I mean, these weren't little girls, obviously, but they were adult women, but hey, they were into it. There was a erotic comic called A Xenophile, which was done by a famous comic book creator named Phil Folio, and it was X-rated, but the idea was it was an X-rated comic, but it was like super positive. It wasn't dark in any way. It was just various situations in which people ended up having sex. So it was more kind of like a comedy comic with tons of sex in it. and he and his wife had pushed this idea of sex positive kind of deal, and it was a very popular comic, mostly amongst women. They did a card game based on it, and Phil Folio was pretty big creator in comics for a long time. Don the Second, sounds like the market for a Hawk Tuah adaptation. Yes, that absolutely would sell. I don't know about now, but back in the day, sure. You want to make money at webcomics? Make a sex webcomic. Make an X-rated webcomic, and not only will you make money, but you'll be able to charge a monthly fee, a subscription. I make very little money on the Webcomic Factory. We used to make a little bit of money when we first launched, but I knew guys who were making huge bank doing X-rated comics, and a lot of their customers were women. They love it. They love it. Oh, it's so sensual. I mean, this is the same people who read Shades of Grey or 50 Shades of Grey, you know, which is basically a novel, an X-rated novel. That's basically porn for women. Erotic fiction. And I wrote some of it. I ghost wrote some of it. So I know the market a little bit. And most of it, the erotic fiction, most of it wasn't sex. It was about, it's just tons and tons of wind up, and then some sex, and then more wind up, and then more sex, and then everybody gets married. The end. That was like every story I wrote. You know, oh, will I have sex with him? I don't like him. Oh, now I kind of like him. Oh, I'm having feelings. Oh, let's have sex. I don't know if I should have done that. Oh, maybe we're breaking up. Oh, no, I love him. Let's have sex. Oh, we're married. The end. It's like every erotic novel. And there's, I mean, the amount, look, if you go to Twitter and you search for book recs, right? And this is what I do to promote the Pineys. And so there's hashtags on Twitter for book recs and book Twitter. And if you look at those hashtags, 90% of the people asking for book recs are women, and they're asking for smut. Although Pride Month, they were asking for gay smut, but they're mostly asking for smut or something with romance. They can't get enough. It's their version of porn. LeMay, so many YA romance that is close to smut nowadays. Many enemies to lovers stories. Yeah, and they don't even call it enemies to lovers. They call it, does anybody have E to L? Anybody have E to L recommendations, please? And they have a bunch of other anagrams for like all the tropes, and they can't get enough of them. LeMay, Book Talk. Yep, that's another place. And then they spend time on Twitter complaining that the Book Talk recommendations weren't good. Like, they can't get enough. They're reading it like stacks of them. Like, men are into visual porn. They like to see boobies. Women don't want to see the pictures. They want to hear all the sweet words and the wind up. Because it's like foreplay, mental foreplay. So their entertainment mirrors that. So why do they want to see, like, a romantic movie? For them is all this wind up and all this longing. That's what all the books became. Like, I guess it was about 30 years ago, even before that, book publishing leaned heavily into the female market, like heavily, and never came back. So prior to the 1990s, I'll say, you would have books, paperback books, like James Bond. There was one I always mention. It was called Mac Bolan, the Executioner. The Mac Bolan, the Executioner is basically the Punisher. They say they basically stole the Punisher. They put a skull shirt on him. The only difference between the Punisher and Mac Bolan, the Executioner, that I can see is the name and the skull t-shirt. Mac Bolan doesn't have a skull. He just has a black turtleneck, and he kills mafia guys. The guy who wrote Mac Bolan, the Executioner, wrote 333 novels, paperback novels, that have been published, and they sold them in the 70s and 80s. and they're huge hits, and guys read them, like a construction guy would read it on his lunch break. You know, he'd read it during the course of the week. He'd spend, eat his lunch and then spend the rest of his lunch hour reading a couple of chapters of Mark Bolan, the Executioner. Then he'd close it up, put it in his lunch pail, and go back to work. And then next day, he'd read a couple of chapters. And then by the end of the week, he'd be done the book. This is how men would read books. But they didn't read books about romance. They're reading books about some dude running around killing dudes, killing mafia dons, and getting the girl, and all the cool stuff James Bond does. But when book publishing decided to lean heavily into the women's market, they leaned so heavily in it, they abandoned the men. They abandoned the male audience. So that's why I see, whenever I go, I'm trying to sell my books, 99% of the men say, I don't read. Nah, I can't find books I like. For the ones who do read, but they struggle because there's nothing to read. There's nothing for them. There's very few books, I'll say. There's a few, but not many. But now we're headed, hopefully, into an era where men could read again, because there will be some male-oriented stuff. And male-oriented stuff isn't just the subject matter, it's how the book is written. So women want a bunch of flowery description about everything. Men don't want that. What they want is dialogue and action. Shoot somebody. Do something cool. LeMay, I guess that is why Japanese light novels and RPG lit power fantasy books are becoming popular among Western men. Yes, because the Japanese stuff hasn't been contaminated yet. All the Western stuff has. So I worked for a couple of publishers, and all the employees are women, first off. So they're confused. Why don't men read our RGB lit? Which I hate that term, by the way. I know that's not on you. So they asked me to write some, and I said, okay. And they said, well, we want a little bit of erotic stuff in it. And I go, I don't think you really want that if this is for men. And they said, no, we want some of that. I said, okay. I said, do you understand that erotic stuff for men is a little different? And they're like, yeah, write it for men. LeMay, Wuxia martial art books too. I never heard of those. So I wrote some stuff, and I wrote some erotic scenes for this one novel. The way a dude would want to hear it, right? He wants to hear how big this girl's cup size is and what she looks like. And then he wants to, plow her. And I wrote a scene like that, and they were horrified. They were like, oh my God, what sort of vulgar stuff did you write? And I said, I told you I wrote it for men. And they were like, oh, well, we don't want this. We wanted, a little bit of teasing and romance. I go, wait. Nobody wants that if they're male. Oh, yes, they do. They love that. I was arguing on the phone with 4 women that, they're all women. And I'm just like, I'm the only man on this conversation. I'm telling you point blank, men don't want romance in whatever little bit of sex would be in the book. They don't want that. I said, the only other thing you could put in this is pictures of big-breasted women. Are you going to do that? No! Well, then you need much more vulgar descriptions of the women, because that's what men want. They want to get to it. They want to hear that, the main character, he banged this chick on top of a mountain or something during a lightning storm. Like that kind of crazy stuff. They don't want to hear about the romance. They don't want to hear they went out to dinner. Who cares? You think is that a male fantasy? Oh boy, I spent all this money and had to buy these flowers and get dressed up and do all this stuff just to get laid. No, that's not the fantasy. The fantasy is you get to get laid without doing all that stuff. That's the fantasy. The fantasy is the girl just meets me and 10 minutes later we're boning in the back of the car. That's the male fantasy. But they didn't understand that. And we got into a huge argument. And needless to say, I don't work for those people anymore. But what are you going to do? I told them the truth. They didn't want to hear it. Yeah, men don't really want sex in their books anyway, is the bottom line. It's not something most men are going to want. Now, I've had a few friends who, like I have one friend who does like that kind of stuff, but he's at the end of the bell curve. He's not like your average Joe. Most guys I know, if they're going to read a book, they want to read a cool book where the guy, doesn't have a boss. That's number one. He doesn't have a boss. He kicks ass. He does whatever the F he wants. That's a male fantasy. To do whatever the F you want and no one stops you. That's the main male fantasy. To be independent. Like super independent. Like no matter what you do, no one can stop you. That's the kind of male fantasy I think most men like. Women have a different fantasy. It's almost opposite. They want to be tied down, married with kids, and have a perfect life and a house and a car and all these things. No. The men just want to like rob a bank and ride into the sunset with a hot chick. That's it. That's a male fantasy. So I know I went off on a big tangent. That tangent was so long, the guy who started, Alex, already left like 10 minutes ago. But it all comes back to what we keep talking about. And movies are the same exact thing. If you want to make a cool movie for a guy, make a cool James Bond movie where he shoots dudes and bangs multiple chicks. The hottest chick, one chick hotter than the next. It'll be a huge hit. What do we get? Oh, we get James Bond dying. Then the last movie, and he had a big relationship. No one wants to see that. No one who's a fan of James Bond. I didn't tune in to James Bond. I couldn't even tell you the name of one James Bond girl other than Octopussy, because that was the name of the movie. All the other ones were either puns or completely forgettable. I could tell you what their cleavage looks like, but I can't tell you their names. Because I don't care about them. That's not why I watch James Bond. I watch them to kill dudes and bang chicks. That's it. That's it. And to see some boobies, potentially. A little bit of boobie in Bond. These people want everything. You can't have everything. You can't have a movie in which you take your girlfriend to see James Bond and she says, I like that movie too. No, she's probably going to be, back in the day when you took your girl to see James Bond, she'd probably be like, oh, that was a little much. But the movie's kind of not for her. And quite frankly, she's probably not even going to say that. Because again, women are going to view movies in a different frame through their lenses of their relationship. And it's more about that. She doesn't really care about the movie all that much. She really doesn't. Most won't. They're just going along in the movie. Oh, you want to see the movie? I'll support you. And that's great. I like that. I like that in women. That women are supportive. Who wouldn't like that? But the idea, no. The movie must appeal to everyone at every level and every person of every color and every race and every age and every sexual orientation. And blah, 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 blah. You can't make a movie like that. You end up equalizing everything so it's nothing. So this idea you're going to please every single person, it can't work. You have to completely ignore certain people. You just have to, if you create something, you just want to have your voice, and that's it. If people like it, great. If they don't, oh well. I'd keep writing stories if not a single person read my books. I would be the crazy hermit still writing in his trailer after work. And I would still write. And that's the way every artist should be. I came to the conclusion on Twitter the other day that fame is a trap. I always wanted to be famous my entire life. And now I realize it's a total trap. Because once you become famous, then everybody starts scrutinizing you. And once you're being scrutinized, it starts to mess with you. And you also make a ton of money, which is good. But I've seen it happen to a couple of comic book guys who got super popular. I saw it happen to my friend who was drawing Batman. They told him that his fame of drawing Batman would get to him. And at first we all laughed because he wasn't that he's pretty alpha male. But it eventually did start to get to him. It really started to impact him a little bit. And he started to question his own artistic abilities. And let me tell you something. He was way worse than me in terms of his artistic ability and the impression of his own artistic ability, if you can imagine. He was like out there, and you couldn't tell him anything. I tried to work with him on projects, and he would always try to one-up me, and it never worked. We never once did a project together because he would always try to one-up me, and it would just fall apart. And I'd just be like, dude, let me handle the writing. You handle the visuals. Stop changing the story. And it wasn't that he had bad ideas or anything. He just couldn't help himself. He just couldn't help himself. He had to change it. He had to make it better. He had to say, oh, no, we're going to do this. We're going to have 10 zombies instead of 2. Well, it was important that we have 2 zombies in the scene. Oh, well, but we'll have 10 because of this and that. Blah, 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 blah. It was unbelievable. But anyhow, let's finish up the tangent because I'll just keep going on. It's amazing we still haven't discussed the debate. That's the thing that gets me. But we haven't come to a debate headline yet, so I'm sure we will. For those of you interested in the actual movie industry, Odysee, which is the one of the unions for the crew, the agreement clears the way to use artificial intelligence as a tool. Now, again, my attitude with the unions these days is that I think the studios secretly control them, and that they use them. They're using them to slowly push everybody out, so AI will. They see the writing on the wall. They're eventually going to use the unions to put AI in just enough they can start using it, and then eventually push everybody out because it won't be cost effective. Or maybe they'll be forced to hire like 5 people just to placate the union, whoever's left. But they're slowly pushing them out, which is sad. But on the one hand, it's sort of inevitable. But on the other hand, I think the unions probably aren't worth it anymore because I think they are tools of the studio. It seems that way to me from the results. Because right now, there was an article this week, I don't know, I'll come across it, that the writers and actors are scrambling to save their health insurance benefits because they're not getting enough work. Well, the whole point of the union was to solidify things like that. Instead, what has happened is they got higher pay, but the studio just cut back on the number of people, just like every business now does. Like, they're wise to the union. Oh, you want us to pay you more? Okay. And then they fire 2 people and make everybody work 3 times as hard. Or they replace people with kiosks where they can. So the unions are not, in my view, really doing anyone any good at this point. But the upside to all this is soon AI will be so sophisticated, guys like me can make a movie in their computer and then sell it to you direct. Just like I'm selling my books direct. The only thing I will need is access to a sophisticated enough AI to do what I want, and enough time and computer bandwidth. So give me all that, and I'll make you a Pineys movie. I'll make you a Pineys movie for every book I write, and try and stop me. All right, let's see what else is going on. Oh, boy. Oh, here's a political headline. France's far right wins first round of snap parliamentary elections. President Emmanuel Macron's party comes in third. So, for those of you who don't know, the UK and France are going through a very similar political situation as the US. Dead Souls is here. Have I seen the movie Maxine XXXX trailer? I've seen that. and I did do a trailer analysis of it. It looks good. It looks good. I got to go back and watch the other Maxine related movies, which is X is the first one. Then there's Pearl. And then there's Maxine XXX. And there might be another one coming up, I think. I think they're talking for another movie, too. But it looks kind of cool. And X looked cool, too. But I didn't see it. But now I kind of want to go back and see it. So it's its own little franchise. So people like Mia Goth, so I think it's a good deal. But anyhow, France is, and you could see that, this is Variety covering this. France, they say far right. Basically, anybody who's not a total Democrat, communist, Marxist is considered far right. It's the same way in France. Because France's far right party, I mean, they're to the left of most of our Democrats right now, but what it's really code for is Marie Le Pen, who's the sort of female French Trump, is going to kick out all the immigrants from France because it's really hurting France. Dead Souls, I like the whole adding the Night Stalker into Maxine. Ooh, that is cool. But it's not the Night Stalker as the bad guy in the movie, right? Or is it? I don't know. I haven't seen it. It looks cool. It looks cool as hell. But yeah, long story short, so Le Pen is the Trump of France. Nigel Farage over in the UK is the Trump of the UK. And then we have our own Trump. So everybody's going right. Alex is back. Happy pre-Canada Day. Oh, no, it's the other Alex Ogle. Hello, Alex Ogle. Happy pre-Canada Day. What is pre-Canada Day? LeMay, she was the boogie woman for a while now. The boogie woman. What's the boogie woman? Do you mean the it girl? Are you using the boogie woman as a term for the it girl? She's been in a couple of weird movies. LeMay, Le Pen should have been elected a long time ago. Yes. Yes, but my theory has been for a long time that the deep state in the United States controls most of the elections in Europe, and now they're starting to lose their grip because so many people are mad. They're flipping over all their governments hard. What they're cheering for in the UK, the guys at the Lotus Eaters are doing this. They're cheering for 0 seats, meaning that they want the Conservatives wiped out in their elections and taken over by Reform, which is Nigel Farage's party. Alex Ogle, France is only going to get as far right as the nation that codified socialism can go. Yes, unfortunately, but it's a good start. I mean, maybe we could help them along. We helped them once in World War II. LeMay, Boogeyman, sorry. Alex Ogle, tomorrow is Canada Day, or as my American boss likes to call it, Dependence Day. I will chug a bottle of maple syrup on your behalf, Alex. Dead Souls, I'm not really sure. They haven't really specified who the Night Stalker is in Maxine, but I think it might be based off the actual guy. Oh, cool. Cool. That was Richard Ramirez, I believe. Yeah, he was messed up. He was messed up. They're in New York. I'm surprised they didn't use Son of Sam. He was just in the news recently. I think he was up for parole again, but he'll never get out. Son of Sam killed a bunch of people because he thought his neighbor's dog told him. And the dog's name was Sam. He was crazy. Alex Ogle, I was encouraging my parents to abandon the Conservatives and vote Reform in a call with them earlier today. Good for you. It's a tough road to hoe, Alex. My older relatives are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, so I've pretty much given them a wide berth on politics these days because it just gets too angry, and they're older, so they're set in their ways. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I know they watched the debate, but they haven't mentioned it to me yet. So I'm really tempted to mention it to them, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to start an argument. But Dead Souls, yeah, Dead Souls, that's nuts. Yep, yeah. Son of Sam really terrorized New York, and that was like a super hot summer when that happened too. It was that was what I loved about the Joker movie. It kind of felt like that era, that Son of Sam era, where it was super hot. And there was garbage everywhere. It was the 70s, and New York was this like cool place, but it was falling apart at the same time. LeMay, that loser Boris Johnson is trash. Pigman Boris. Dead Souls, one of my neighbors has a Trump sign, and I'm shocked. Yeah, I've been seeing more Trump signs near me, too. In fact, on the way to the Cowtown Showdown motorcycle, car, and truck show and swap meet today, I saw a guy had a massive Trump sign and like an American flag on his... He just had a house that was on the road in South Jersey. But South Jersey's very red. It's rural. There's a lot of farms still. Although I saw somebody today talking about how there's, a lot of the farms are gone, which may be very sad. But in my own neighborhood, I saw a guy drive by as I was getting home, and he had a pickup truck, and he had a giant American flag. So nature may be healing itself, at least here in South Jersey. We're very excited that a poll came out here that Trump is leading Biden just in one poll. So don't get too excited, but in New Jersey, Trump is leading Biden 41-40. So fingers crossed that we turn the state red. Because people here are also very upset, not only with Biden, but Phil Murphy, our Democratic governor. New Jersey does flip red every once in a while because we get a Democrat governor that's so corrupt, we're forced to vote for anybody else. That's how we got Chris Christie in the first place. But most of our guys are like Chris Christie, unfortunately. I'm hoping for Ed the Trucker to win as governor and get the nomination, but it's kind of a long shot. But I may have to register Republican again so I could vote for him. But he doesn't run until 2025. We can't flip it over until next year. Dead Souls, I hear people calling him Hit Junior, like I don't know what that means. Hit Junior? I don't know. Hit Junior. Alex Ogle, I still see the occasional F. Trudeau flag, which, to borrow from Churchill, warms the cockles of my heart. God, Trudeau upsets me, and I'm in America, man. When I read about Trudeau, I get so mad now. Like, you would think he ran this country. I mean, I hate Biden, don't get me wrong. Biden's terrible, but like, I thank God every day we don't have Trudeau. Trudeau's 1,000 times worse. He's 1,000 times worse. I pity the poor people of Canada. I really do, that they have to suffer under Trudeau. Because at least in our system, there's a chance we could get rid of Biden, like in terms of impeaching him or throwing him out. Your system's so effed up. There's like almost there's no way to get rid of this guy. There's no way. You have to, the moment you get rid of Trudeau, you have to change the system so you can get rid of a guy like that. And you got a lot of people in your country who are, oh man, they're practically commies. We do too, but our country's so big, we can kind of overwhelm the commies, I think. Dead Souls, do governors get to vote for president? Well, if there is a tie for the presidential election, the states get to vote. And in that case, the Republicans will win because there are more Republican states than there are blue states at this time. So yes and no, but they don't get like a direct vote. I mean, they can vote like as a citizen, but not as, like the governor doesn't mean anything special. Alex Ogle, he's being mocked for a dance at an Indian festival. He can't get anything right, fortunately. He's just the worst. I mean, that he did blackface and that he's ever been elected, the liberals should all hang their head in shame. That's just crazy to me. The liberals are such hypocrites for electing him. Dead souls. I'm not happy with either choice. I'm happy with Trump. I want Trump back in. I want gas under $2. Alex, I count the Westminster system as superior because the longer Trudeau stays in, the harder will be his fall. Interesting. Well, I would love to see him go to jail. That would be nice. I would love to see one of these clowns go to jail. Macron, I don't think is as classically corrupt. I think he's just arguably an a-hole. It doesn't seem... I mean, I don't know any specifics about what Macron has done, but I suspect that he's done some stuff. Biden, we pretty much know, has done some dirty, dirty dealings. And I've always contended that if they don't get Biden, they'll get his son. He'll either die or be consigned to the nut house, and there'll be nobody left to protect Hunter. And at that point, it may be politically feasible for the Republicans to turn around and say, oh, let's prosecute Hunter, we'll all look good. And then Hunter will be in big trouble. And then I think Hunter will go back on the pipe and probably OD. Alex Ogle, a friend was asking about the level of CGI in Furiosa that he watched this weekend on streaming. He was resolute defender of the film, but I think he has finally realized how it was. See, the problem with Furiosa, I hear it's a pretty decent film. A lot of practical effects and whatnot. The problem is the way it was marketed. If you had marketed it as Furiosa, from the world of Mad Max, or just said Furiosa, maybe it would have done slightly better. And, I think calling it a Mad Max saga really stuck in people's craws, especially people who love Mad Max. Additionally, because they recast Mad Max as Tom Hardy, where the hell's the Mad Max movie? You put out a Furiosa movie before you put out a Mad Max movie? And then the new Mad Max movie was going to be Wasteland? Wasn't even going to be called Mad Max? What are you, nuts? These people are nuts. They're determined to turn everything for women. That's another brand. They turn to women, right? Oh, no, you don't need Mad Max. Here's Furiosa. We don't want Furiosa. We want Mad Max. Look, they keep turning these brands female. Look at the Marvel movies. They turned the Marvels female, and women didn't go see it. Men still went to see it. Stupid men. But they still went to see it, hoping it would be good. Dead souls. I hate how people judge people just cause you like certain presidents. Well, I can understand that. Isn't Biden's son in jail? Not yet. Nope. He's on trial. He ain't going to jail while Biden's alive. Oh, no. There'd be no way he'll go to jail. But, I think that's part of the reason Biden ran. I think they told Biden if he doesn't run, Hunter will go to jail. I think they forced him in. Because initially he wasn't going to run. And I think he shouldn't have. But LeMay, Macron put a tax on gas that was so high that the French people rioted on the streets. I remember that. The French police beat them, but the riots were so bad Macron put a freeze on the tax. Macron is also married to an older woman who knew him when he was a teen. Ooh, that's creepy. That's still not him, though, being corrupt. That's him just being stupid and globalist, which he totally is. But it's not like... I haven't heard about him taking a bribe, for instance. Like, I haven't heard about him, like, I don't know, selling out his countrymen for a big pile of cash or oil or something. Like, Biden's actually sold us down the river. He sold the electric grid in, like, Louisiana to the Chinese, or he changed the rules so they could buy it. That, to me, is like Biden taking a bribe and then later doing that. Dead Souls. Biden literally says his sister is the love of his life in an interview. Ew. He is gross. That's bizarre and stupid and probably way too true. What is wrong with these people? Here's what I thought the other day. The reason we get these leaders is because when things go right, nobody really wants to be in charge. They just want to, like, do whatever they want to do. And being in charge of, like, the government is the most boring, soul-draining thing you could possibly do. Nobody really wants to do it. Most people, I'll say, like 90% of the people. They kind of like the idea of it, but when that comes to actually doing it, they don't actually like doing it. So, for instance, people like the idea that they authored a book. I get this all the time. They want to write a book, but they don't actually want to write a book. What they want is they want to go to events like I do and sign books and have everybody call them clever and funny and witty. But they don't actually want to sit around typing all day. Like, that's mostly what I do. And so they don't understand what it is. And I think that's the case with, like, government. Like, you don't really understand what it is. And most people who try to do it then go, oh, this is boring. I don't want to do this. And then they go back to doing something else. But when things get so bad, the whole country starts falling apart. That's when the competent people say, okay, F this. I'm going to go in and fix everything. And then it's number one, it's more interesting because it's kind of a challenge. And I think that's part of the mindset of Trump. It's like a challenge for him. And number two, they feel they have to do it or else the country will be gone and then they'll be screwed. Alex Ogle, I have an idea for a script. I love this running gag. Sydney Sweeney plays a character who says, Hooktaya, or wait, Haktua. I need a setting, sci-fi or romance. Why not both? There's rumors she's going to play, I think, Barbarella. I think they're going to remake Barbarella with her. That'll be a perfect Haktua moment. Alex Ogle at Dead Souls. Arg, don't ruin it for me. And Tony. Oh, wait. Dead Souls, I missed this one. Sydney Sweeney kissed a minor, Alex. She did? At Dead Souls. Arg, don't ruin it for me and Tony. How young of a minor? Look, there's some leeway there, There's a difference. Look, I'm not justifying anybody's terrible behavior, but, depending on the age of the kisser and the kissee, technically someone who's 18 kissing a 17-year-old is kissing a minor, but is that really a big deal, right? So it kind of depends upon the age of the participants. So, for instance, this week, the Dr. Disrespect stuff dropped. And, man, it's been a roller coaster ride. Because initially, it was like, okay, it sounds like they're just canceling this dude. Then it came out, oh, it sounds really bad, right? So a bunch of stuff came out that sounds very, very bad. And he got dropped. He got dropped by Twitch, but they paid out his contract, which is weird because if he actually had done something illegal, they probably wouldn't have done that. But then some of his former associates kind of came out and said, oh, no, what he's done is bad. But now today, someone came out and said, oh, the whole thing's a setup. The whole thing's a setup, which is very possible in this day and age. So I don't know what to believe in that story. Holy cow. Jeremy at the Quartering's got his job cut out for him. He's been following it since the beginning. And let me tell you something. It's like this. The Dr. Disrespect thing, don't put in your vote yet because it's still coming out. Believe it or not. Dead Souls. I'm not exactly sure, but there was a whole article on her kissing a minor. Sydney Sweeney. Oh, that's Dead Souls. Alex Ogle. Sydney. I'll have to look that up. I hadn't heard that about Sydney Sweeney. Alex Ogle, Sydney Sweeney as Barbarella would be fantastic, but I'd love to hear her pronounce. Oh my God, I can't read that like Jane Fonda did. Dead Souls. She was 20 and the girl was 14 or 15. I just read the article. Oh wow, that's that's pretty low. And it was a girl. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know what to say. These days, I don't know what to say. Like 20 years ago, if you'd said that, I would have been like, whoa, what's going on? But you don't know. You just don't know. But then like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, it would have been like, well, what state was it in? Because some states had pretty low consent laws. A couple of them still do. A couple of them are still as low as, I think, 16. In terms of the consent laws. So for the legal portion of it. Anyway. But, you know, and that's, look, yeah, it's probably not good. But then it's like, I was talking about this the other day. It's like, what age are you as a kid? Because it's like, in the olden times, when you lived to be 40 and died with like 12 children on a farm, you know, you had children early. So really, by the time you were 13 or 14, you were kind of an adult. Because that's the age you started to get married and or at least had kids. You know, the boys would be older and the girls would be younger. And they would start having children at like 14, 15 as soon as they could. I mean, this is ancient. I'm talking like old times. But, you know, you go back 100 years, it's not that much different. And then at some point we decided 18 was the cutoff, and then once you're 18, you're an adult. But like for some things in this country, it's 21, and then you look at some people and they're really just grown children. And you wonder if they should just raise the age of being a minor to like 21. I don't know. Joan, get out of here. I'm not going to hear you bark. Oh, wait. I was going to give you another treat. Here's your second treat. But who knows? I don't know anymore. I don't know where the line is. But I'm too old to be anywhere near that line. So I stay far, far away from that line. Dead Souls. It was for a movie or a show called Everything Sucks or something like that. Oh, well, it was for a TV show. So it wasn't like she was like, oh, I made out with this chick and she was only 14. Like, it was for a TV show. I mean, I don't know. Alex Ogle, if they do remake Barbarella, they should at least have the noose to cast Simon Le Bon as Dr. Duran Duran. I don't know. I'm all for it. Dead Souls. For my state, it's actually 15 in age of consent. And most people had arranged marriages back then. Yeah. So it's a weird line. I mean, I'll tell you that I was at a show a couple of weeks ago, and this gorgeous girl came up to me, and I knew she was very young, so I wasn't going to do anything. But, you know, she was telling me, and she was kind of into me, and I was like, back off. And she was very nice, though. She didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. But it came out during the conversation she was 17, and I was like, oh my, no, stay on that side of the table. And you know, you just have to be careful and sensible. And look, you know, older guys, they like young looking women because the evolution of that is you are attracted to youthful traits because they're associated with fertility. That's the origins of that. So women are tended to be attracted to guys with means because biologically they're looking for, you know, and again, this goes back 100,000 years. They're looking for guys that can take care of not just them, but their children. So that's sort of their biological urge. Whereas guys are looking for hot chicks. and girls that are more fertile. So this is why some guys get themselves in a little bit of trouble. And they're in middle age and they fall for some hot girl because they want to be young again and they want to bang some 20-year-old, and it all goes wrong. Because trust me, when you're my age, you don't want to deal with 20-year-old girl problems. 20-year-old girls are fine when you're in your 20s, but not when you're in your 50s. Then it's like, yeah, I don't really want to be around you. Yes, I want to have sex with you, but yeah, I don't want to be around you because we have nothing in common. Alex Ogle, sorry, nous, pronounced nous, meaning savvy and knowledge, which I have obviously not because I didn't know what the heck that means. Is that a French word? I think that's French, isn't it? Nous. That's a new one. Alex Ogle, the theme tune could be called Girls on Film. Oh, yeah, I remember that video. Girls on Film. 2 minutes, baby. Dead Souls. I think 21 should be the age of being an adult. It kind of is sort of heading that direction. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah. But it comes with its own problems in terms of how do we deal with people. So if we make it 21, then it's like, okay, now you're dating a 20-year-old and you're 22. Is that too young? Like, there has to be some sort of graduated thing. Because I don't think it's too out of bounds for somebody, say, within about 2 or 3 years to date someone who's a little younger, maybe in their teens. Like if you're 19 or 20 and you're dating a 17-year-old, that doesn't seem to be too out of bounds, but it kind of depends upon the person, I think, in a lot of respects. There should probably be some parental, notice in that mix, but beyond that, it seems like it should be mostly okay, but who knows? LeMay, in Japan, it used to be 20, but they dropped it down to 18. Interesting. I think what needs to happen is, unfortunately, we, in America, I'm saying, we seem to live in a country of children. And we need to grow up. And I say that as a guy who grew up and played Dungeons and Dragons, watched cartoons, was always into science fiction, all this other stuff. And as I was growing up, everybody called me a geek and a nerd and said, oh, you're in all this stupid stuff. You're like a little kid. And at the time I thought, you just don't understand it. But looking back on it, I would say, well, maybe they had a little bit of a point, but there just needs to be a reckoning here where at a certain point, you gotta grow the F up. And I think part of the problem, or the major problem, is our educational system is all screwed up. They don't teach anybody anything. Like when I was in school, they did have one semester, it was called consumerism, but that was one of the best semesters I ever had in school because it taught me how to balance a checkbook, how to open a checking account, how to get a social security number, how to pay rent, how to budget, like all these little things that are very common sense, but they don't really teach that in school. It's so unimportant that you might get it, but you usually don't. And definitely not now. They're too busy teaching pronouns. And I've always said they should privatize the school system completely and cut it off from the public system, but I don't know if we'll be able to ever do that. But the reality is we need a school system that teaches people actual things. I was a substitute teacher, and one time I was in a class, and I didn't have a plan. So, this is my family again calling me on the live stream. I'm going to try to tell you. I'm doing the live stream, Ma. So, I taught them, I asked them what did they want to, I think this was like a 5th grade class. I asked them what they wanted to be when they grew up, and I wrote a bunch of lists. A lot of guys said race car driver for some reason, and it was a bunch of different, crazy occupations. that made no sense. And then I told them, well, do you understand how rent works and how you have to pay for stuff every single month? And so I started writing out a budget on the whiteboard, and I tried to explain to the students how things cost money. And it wasn't shocking to me that they thought it was a lot of money. The shocking thing was they never, ever were taught anything about it. Like, no one ever mentioned it to them. They were shocked to learn that adults had to pay all this money all the time. Like, they had an idea that you had to pay something. Like, oh, I have to pay something? Oh, here it is. Well, see you in a year. No, no, no. You have to pay the rent every month. You have to pay bills every month. And then when I told them that, and I was like, you know, we came up with a total for the month, and I said, this is what you have to pay every single month. So you have to make more than this to save money. And they were like, oh. Alex Ogle, as a member of a pub quiz team, I can say that I remind my colleagues constantly that we need more 20-something girls on our team. They are dumb as hell, but they help out in the music rounds. Yes. Yes, I recommend hanging out with more 20-something-year-olds because they're hot. Dead Souls, I think it's dumb a 40-year-old can date a 30-year-old, but not a 20-year-old. But if a 20-year-old dates a 15-year-old, it's jail time for them. Well, they're not adults is the problem. Like, you know, that's, I think under the right circumstance, but a 15-year-old would need, if there's parental permission usually is the thing. Like, I knew a guy who dated a girl, he was out of school, and he dated a girl who was in high school, but he knew the parents, and they liked him, and it was okay. Like, if you have the parental permission, sure, in that case. You should have to go through the parents. But it's a little old, 20 to 15. But, like, it's kind of doable if everything's very above board. But you have to be very careful, because my friend dated this girl who was still in high school, and I said to him, listen, he wanted to marry her. I said, listen, she's going to turn 18 and her whole world's going to open up and she'll change. And you don't know what's going to happen to her. Everybody changes after they get out of high school. Everybody. Because suddenly they're thrust into the world of adulthood and it's like, ooh, I can do whatever I want. And that's very tempting to somebody who just got out of high school. So sure enough, she gets out of high school and the first thing she does is ends up cheating on him with some guy at work. Simply because he was there and she could, and she's only 18 and she's just out of high school and she didn't know what she wanted. So my friend ended up breaking up with her, but it's tough. That's the problem with dating even anybody in their 20s. They don't know what they want. Most 20-something girls, they're not ready to settle down. Not now. You know, 40, 50, longer years ago, oh yeah, they'd be like, I gotta have my kids. Not now. There's a handful of girls who are like, oh, I want to have my kids in my 20s and then, you know, not be a wreck by the time I'm 40. That's by the way a good plan, ladies. It's healthier to have your kids early, but you know, you feel like you missed out on life. You're not missing out on anything about a bunch of drunken nights, a few parties, and a bunch of dates you're going to regret, quite frankly. With guys like me. No, I'm just kidding. LeMay, they got rid of driver's ed at my high school. Oh my God. Who the hell teaches people to drive? At Dead Souls from Alex Ogle. It's more helpful if you think in terms of percentages of either age. I always laugh when a youngster says something's the best, worst in all my life. Alex Ogle, what was that movie with Rodney Dangerfield who goes to school and explains money to the teacher? That's Back to School. It's Rodney Dangerfield. Robert Downey Jr.'s in it as the roommate of his son. And Sam Kinison is in it as one of the teachers. He's not the teacher he explains that to. That's the history teacher. He's the history teacher. But I know the scene you mean. Alex, did the presidential debate eclipse all Hollywood releases this week? Let's get into that right now. Thank you for bringing it up. Dead Souls. I mainly got used by everyone I've been with, so I'm done dating. Oh, don't go monk on us, Dead Souls. Look, I know it's rough. Believe me, I've been there. I have been there. I've been in a lot of. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I feel you. I totally feel you. It's really tough to find someone these days, especially, I don't know, women. They're crazy, man. You can't believe how crazy they are at my age. But at least at my level, and I recommend going older if you can, because older women tend to be more settled, and they tend to be like done with a lot of their nonsense, and they kind of know what they want. Young women, they don't know what they want, and they're very, very prone to like, ooh, somebody shook some keys, I'm going that way. So don't give it totally up yet, but I feel you. I feel you. I had that attitude just recently, and then I fell into a dating situation with this one girl, had a great time for a few months, and now I'm dating some other girl, so you never know. You never know. Don't totally shut the door, but I feel you. LeMay, parents, friends, or private company, by law, everyone under 18 has to pay for a defensive driving course, and it's expensive. Oh, seems unfair. Sounds like a statewide scam to get people to pay for driving lessons. But anyway, talking about the debate. Oh yeah, the debate. Let's see, do we have any headlines about it here? Can't believe there's not a headline left. It was all that was in the news for a while. I guess it's all finally out of the system. So, the debate. I live streamed the debate, by the way. If you want to see it, you have to queue up the CBS live stream, because I wasn't allowed to play it because CNN was threatening everybody, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I used the CBS live stream. You have to queue it up. It's on YouTube. It's on the other platforms too, but it's in two parts, so you're never going to be able to sync it up the second half. But the first half you should be able to sync up relatively easily. But it was an absolute S show, and as if you didn't see it, oh my God, if you didn't see it, go watch the debate. It's historic. And it did eclipse just about everything in the news for about 3 days. Dead Souls. I missed the Dead Poets Society movie. Well, you can see it. It's a really good movie. Pretty good. I mean, it's a bit sappy when that one dude, you know. Yeah, so the debate was just, holy cow. Holy cow. Biden got absolutely S-canned, crab hammered, smashed, stomped, curb stomped, whatever you want to call it. Trump won just about every single second of it. I've never seen anything like it. There's no way they should have put that old mummy up. Never should have been up there. Alex Ogle, I've got it. The Barbarella movie starts with Duran Duran wanting to create the most evil substance in the universe, the Mathmos, and arranges for Barbarella, Sydney Sweeney, to say, Hook, Hak Tua. I like it. Get a draft on my desk by Tuesday. So, Biden just looked old and feeble from the moment he walked out. From the moment he walked out, I mean, he walked out like, like, no lie. Watch it yourself. You don't have to watch much of it to see that Biden is old, frail, and shouldn't have been up there. And then Trump comes out, and he's just like Trump. He's just like swagger, tons of swagger. Like, this mother effer. I'm going to crush him. And, you know, CNN, for all their help of Biden, it didn't do much good. They didn't help Biden as much or as blatantly as I thought they would. But they did help him in a few instances. And understand that Biden had an entire week to prepare for this debate. An entire week he went to Camp David just to prepare. And he was tired, he was hoarse, and he was confused throughout all of it. Alex Ogle, I was frustrated that Trump couldn't stick to topics, but I wasn't quite prepared for Ramblin' Joe to be quite as zombie-like as he was. Dead Souls, who's your favorite actor? Who is my favorite actor now? Who is my favorite actor? That's an interesting question. Right now, it would be Tom Hardy. Because I think he's really good. I think he's at the top of his game. In the past, I've said different people. Al Pacino, I always thought was an actor's actor. Even in the bad movies, he's kind of good. Although he's done quite a few bad movies. But Robert De Niro is off the list. Not for political reasons, but because he's picked some terrible projects that are just... I'm horrified at some of the picks Robert De Niro have picked. I really am. So, I mean, in terms of, like, the acting ability, you know, really Tom Hardy is right up there. I think Chris Pratt is very good at what he does. I don't think he really has the range of Tom Hardy, but... You know, there's no arguing with his string of successes. And I really like Chris Pratt as Andy on Parks and Rec. And if you haven't seen Parks and Rec, you really should, just for Chris Pratt. He's so funny in that. Alex Ogle, despite that Tapper fellow having a history associating Trump with Hitler, I found him to be remarkably professional and even-handed with his questioning and moderating. I think, yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. I think somebody said, and I forget who, but I think this is true. I think it was, I think it might have been Razor Fist, that the format that they forced Trump in, that they thought would help Biden, actually helped Trump. Because the problem with Trump in the 2020 debates is he kept interrupting Biden. And Biden was already demented in 2020. And had he let him talk, Biden would have done the same thing in the debate 4 years ago that he did the other night, which is he just rambled about nothing. He made zero sense sometimes, and like he was saying, and by the way, and he'd make a point, and by the way, and he'd make a point. And then one time he went, and by the way, and he didn't finish. And the moderator just said, okay, we're moving on. Like, holy cow, when he did that, he basically froze up, and it was over. It was so over. Dead Souls. My favorite actor is Hugh Jackman. He's okay. I really like him as Wolverine. He's very much an actor, kind of like Broadway guy. It's so weird he ended up as Wolverine, but he looks just like him. I think that's why he ended up with the role. He looks like Wolverine. But it's sort of funny that he wants to do Broadway. Like, you could tell he just loves doing Broadway. And like, I don't even think he really wants to do necessarily like romantic leads or anything like that. He should be doing action movies, really, but he's not. I think he wants to do, you know, musicals and Broadway and stuff like that. And it's just kind of funny to me that Wolverine really wants to do that. But he's stuck playing Wolverine. That seems to always be the way. It's like you have these actors, they kind of want to do certain roles, but they're actually better for the opposite role sometimes. It's kind of funny. Alex Ogle, perhaps that's why CNN refused the audience. They would be more raucous than Trump was supposed to be. Or refused an audience. Yeah, it worked in Trump's favor that there wasn't an audience, because the problem with 2020 was people felt like, I think Trump bullied Biden to some degree, or at least the Biden supporters felt that Biden was just, you know, it wasn't that Biden was demented, it was that Trump just kept cutting him off. But this particular format showed that, like, Trump would just sit there and Biden would just tie himself in knots, and he could just let him keep going on and on. He, you know, it was a miracle he didn't go wandering off stage. Dead Souls. Chris Pratt is related to Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator. He's married to his daughter, right? I believe he's married to Schwarzenegger's daughter. And I used to like Schwarzenegger. I kind of can't forgive him for his "screw your freedom" comment. Alex Ogle. Best actor in Brian Blessed as Caesar Augustus in I, Claudius. A great cast with John Hurt and Derek Jacobi. I've seen a couple of episodes. It's pretty good. I mean, I was talking about Caligula in my, you saw it in my trailer analysis, and that had John Gielgud, another great actor, and Peter O'Toole in it, another great actor, Lawrence of Arabia, if you haven't seen that. And My Favorite Year, Peter O'Toole's in that. That's a great movie. Alex Ogle. I love Biden talking himself dry with 10 seconds left in his answer. No concept of timing or message. Yeah, and Trump in 2020 would step on that, and that was to Trump's disadvantage. In this one, he really showed discipline, which is what he lacked in 2020. I think partly because, like, Trump is rested. Trump is nice and rested, so he could do that. In 2020, he's running the country, and oh yeah, I got to do this debate, So he's a little stretched. So, Dead Souls, yes, he's married to his daughter. Yep. Alex Ogle. There's a great YouTube video using I, Claudius as an example of how to do blocking. Oh, neat. I'll tell you, the people on The Walking Dead didn't watch it because that show had the worst blocking ever. You want to see the worst blocking in history, and I never noticed blocking in a TV show except on The Walking Dead, which had the worst blocking imaginable. Every time I'd see stuff in the background and go, why the F is that there? It drove me nuts. Dead Souls. Should I vote? Yes, you should. Do you want me to tell you who to vote for? Because I'll tell you if you ask. Yeah, I mean, you should vote. Of course you should vote. I don't care who you vote for, as long as you don't vote for Democrats anymore. Because my thing is this. The Democrat Party has gone off the rails, and they need to be punished. They need it. Okay? If they survive into the next century, it'll only be because the people who were Democrats finally said, enough, give us sane people or go to hell. And then they'll change. That's what I try to tell I used to be a Democrat, and I tell Democrats all the time, why do you expect change if you keep voting for these people? But we can't vote for a Republican. You could not vote for them. You can write your own name in. You could write, you could vote for an independent party. You can vote for the Greens. Oh, but they don't win. And then the argument is like, well, look, if you're just voting for a winner, then you're going to vote for anybody that's just winning. That doesn't make any sense either. You have to vote according to your values. LeMay, we want cheap gas. Yes, we do. I want no regulation. Oh, by the way, the Chevron decision, for those of you who didn't hear about that, from the Supreme Court is major. Because since that decision, the courts have deferred to the bureaucratic agencies in Washington to make rules and enforce fines, and you couldn't sue them over it. So, for instance, one example somebody gave on Twitter, there was a fishing and wildlife business. I don't know what kind of business it was, but they were fining them $700 a week for some arbitrary rule that they had literally made up. It wasn't a law, but the I don't know, it was a wildlife, whatever our ministries are, some wildlife bureaucracy or whatever. They just made up a law and told the people of the business, they had to pay $700 a week. And that, since 2013, they've been paying it. That's horrific. I can only imagine some crazy bureaucracy coming after me and doing that to me. OSHA came after me at one point because I registered a business in New Jersey, and immediately, and I thought that would do me some good when I started my comic book company. Instead, I got a bunch of angry emails, or angry, not emails, regular mail, remember that, from OSHA, saying, "Oh, you got to put up these posters in your place of business." And I'm like, "I don't have a place of business. I'm working on a comic book with like 2 guys. Leave me alone." Oh, it was awful. I thought I was in trouble, but it turns out I made no money, so I wasn't. Dead Souls. Yeah, I have no idea what side I should be on. Well, join us. Just don't vote for the Democrats is the only thing I ask you to do. Vote for anybody other than Democrats and you're golden with me. Alex Ogle, best comedy on voting was Black Adder, Series 3, Dish and Dishonesty, where Baldrick runs for Parliament. That was a good show. I enjoyed Black Adder. I used to watch that. Alex Ogle, the previous incumbent in the constituency accidentally, brutally cut his head off while combing his hair? Is that true, or are you just making something up? By the way, there was a beheading in New York of a mafia guy, which that hasn't happened in New York in a while, but there was like he was like in his 70s, and they killed him in the street, but somehow they used a truck to behead him. And I'm not exactly sure how they do it. My impression is that they drove the truck really fast at him and then opened like a door and used the door to cut his head off or something like that. But I'm not sure. But he was decapitated in the middle of the street. And I was just like, holy crap, the mafia is still around. Actually, it doesn't exist. I forgot. Yeah, the mafia doesn't exist. Forget I said that. Alex Ogle, the mafia is turning to Islam? Maybe. I don't know. If they existed, which they don't, they do anything for money. But no, most of them are very Catholic. You know, as Catholic as a guy who murders people would be, if they existed, which they don't. No, stay away from the mafia guys. They're bad news. Bad news. But it doesn't exist, so you don't have to worry. Anyhow, yeah. So just wrapping up with the debate. The debate was just crazy amount of headlines this week. The interesting thing that came out of it was now the celebrities are in revolt against the Democratic Party. They are screaming at the Democrats to shut Biden down and replace him, or they won't fundraise for him anymore. No more money from the celebrities unless they replace Joe Biden. Which is interesting because, you know, a lot of people say celebrities are a psyop, and I think that's at least partially true. But that means they're powerful enough that they may have had a little sway in this decision. If in fact Bill O'Reilly is correct, and Bill O'Reilly said in a tweet that the decision's been made, Biden's going to step down because the fundraising has dried up and his poll numbers are completely in the toilet. But we'll see. It would be very difficult for the Democrats. If they replace Biden, it's over. It's really over. Like, there's no way Trump's going to lose that. But don't stop for a second, because we still have to win the down ballot stuff too. Trump has to get both houses for things to really kick off. And when we have both houses, we don't really have them because half the Republicans are traitors. So, LeMay, I met an Italian who claimed his dad got him a job drawing art for some mobster. He drew for his son's ball team. I'm not surprised. I mean, like, for artists, they just get jobs like that. And anybody who has money, you know, they're mercenaries in that respect. Um, Alex Ogle, voting tip. If the celebrities say they endorse a candidate, that's not the candidate whom to vote for. Yes, that's a hot tip, dead souls. All the celebrities love Joe Biden. Just about. LeMay partially paid his way through art school doing that. Yep. Mafia guys, if they existed, which they don't, have been known to finance movies. And I've known a few people who have allegedly worked on movies at least partially funded by mafia guys. It's also a way to wash money and steal money. But, mafia guys don't exist, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Stay away, stay far away. Or don't expect to ever get paid. Because if you piss off a mobster, he may just say, I'm not going to pay you. And then you're screwed. Or, you wasted a lot of time or whatever. But, the mafia guys, if they existed, which they don't, they are very gregarious, many of them. So, for instance, when they used to run Atlantic City in the early 80s, before the corporations pushed them out, they would give out what's called a comp. And a comp would be like a free dinner when the restaurants were really good in Atlantic City. And my parents used to get them all the time, not because they're connected to the mafia or anything, but just because the mafia guys would throw them around. And so it was easier for random people to get really good restaurant comps because they were so arbitrary with them passing it around. And, depending on who you knew or whatever. But now that the corporations do it, it's all super finely regulated. So you have to gamble X amount of dollars to get this comp and then X amount of dollars to get that comp or whatever. Mr. Solomon is here. Hello, Mr. Solomon. Welcome. Magia guys do exist, though. Magia guys? Who are Magia guys, I must ask? But anyhow, yeah, the debate was just an S show, and watching the meltdowns for 2 or 3 days was like a shot of political heroin, because let me tell you something, I could not get enough. First, I watched Razor Fist's reaction, which was great, because the great thing about watching the debate reactions was that I had already seen the debate in my own live stream, so I knew what was coming. And like Razor had no idea when he started his stream what he was in for and how bad it would get. So watching him watch it was amazing. Then the Crowder guys did it, and it wasn't as good, but it was still good because there were a couple of moments where like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. But actually very early on they went, that's it, it's over. Like they called it early. Like, oh, that's it, it's over. Because like when Biden walked out, like, I think it was Nick DiPaolo said, that's it, it's over. And they were right. Alex Ogle, I'm horrified. I've smeared my opponent, bribed the press to be on my side, and then threatened to torture the electorate if we lost. I failed to see what more a decent politician could have done. Said by William Pitt, the even younger in Black Otter. That pretty much sums up Biden, if he could speak. Mr. Solomon, the Marvel version of the Mafia. Oh, which doesn't exist. Rumors Stan Lee got threatened that the newsstands wouldn't stock the comics, so they came up with the Magia. Oh, interesting. I vaguely remember that now that you say it. I vaguely remember seeing that and just sort of looking at it and go, what? Interesting. Interesting. The Magia. Alex Ogle, I watched Tim Pool's coverage of the debate and regretted his milquetoast coverage. You got to watch Razor, I think, because his reaction was the best. He just started laughing, and then he was just astonished in some moments. My reactions are weird because you can only see me. So if you don't have the if you don't have the debate rolling right, in another window next to me, it's just me going, ha 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 ha. So it's weird, but yeah, Tim is, he's trying to be a real reporter. He's trying to be mostly even-handed, I think. He has his own crazy takes on Civil War, but yeah, I don't like Tim's conference room show as much as I liked his reports. I preferred his short, punchy news reports the most, but it's okay. Once in a while I watch it. If he has a good guest, I'll watch. I just don't have enough time. There's so many podcasts. I still kind of want to watch Jeremy's reaction from the quartering, because I know he did one, but I haven't gotten around to it. And then the meltdown of people on the left side of politics trying to cope with Biden's loss was just glorious. Oh my God. These people are losing it. They're losing it. Some of them are like, we got to replace Biden. What are we doing? And then others are like, no, I'm the pragmatic one. We cannot replace Biden. He just had one bad debate. He'll come back in the next debate, perhaps. It's just, and then there's just a lot of gaslighting going on. I mean, there's straight up people who seem to be total shills for Biden, saying stuff like, there was this one woman going, I'm a Trump supporter. I was a Trump supporter, but after the debate, I have changed my vote to Joe Biden. Oh, like after that debate, you changed your vote? Okay. Yeah, that really convinced you? The mummy convinced you? Like, oh, I guess I better vote for the guy who could barely speak and walk and think. Yeah, that sounds like a good leader of the country. Alex Ogle, can't find Razorfist's reaction on Rumble. Oh, that's weird. Maybe it's only on YouTube. All right, getting into the. I guess we're done with the debate stuff. I thought we'd be on the debate for a while, but probably best we're not. I pretty much said all I had to say. Checking the fandom pulse, though, the Dice Tower board, gaming YouTube has another woke problem. Okay, so I guess again, never go woke, never go woke. Never go full retard. We learned this in Tropic Thunder. Never go full retard. Never go woke. I came out with Wokistan a novel and Hollywoke another novel, and I would schlep that book around with me to the various shows, and people would see the titles and go, huh, what's that? This was back in 2019, 2020. Now I take them to shows 4 years later, and people go, oh, I know what that is. Is that what's that story about? I think I'm going to buy that. And I sold 2 today. So, yeah, people are finally getting the message. I had a guy early ask me what woke was, and it's just like, I could give you the James Lindsay definition. I can give you a bunch of definitions, but at this point, if you don't know what woke is, you're probably in the cult. You're probably the one trying to it's not that I'm woke. I just like, I like minorities and marginalized people or whatever, and I think they should have a voice and whatever, and they just don't understand. No, that's not what it is. It's not what it is. You're trapped in something you don't quite understand yet, but you will, because you'll get burned by it eventually. Everybody gets burned by being woke who's in that world eventually. It doesn't matter if you're one of the marginalized groups. You're gonna get burned by it eventually and realize, oh, this was a stupid idea. This DEI woke BS, oh, it was a terrible idea. So here's another one. Woke mob cancels Gen Con over the Crit Awards, doubling down on anti-Jewish discrimination. It's nuts. Alex Ogle, yes, there it is on YouTube. I'll watch it after the stream. Hit that like button, everyone. Thank you, Alex. So I used to go to Gen Con when I was promoting Complete Mafia for D20, my game, and I think I went twice. Great con. I went to the last one in Milwaukee. That was a great con. I went to the first one in Indianapolis. It was good. Wasn't as good, I think. I missed Milwaukee Gen Con. And then I hadn't been to it in years, but I heard all sorts of stories when it started to go woke. And then, first off, the pandemic. They went nuts during the pandemic, I hear. But they do not like conservatives. And there was a story that broke on Twitter that a guy who paid something like $12,000 for a booth was kicked out of the show. They didn't refund his money, and he spent upwards of $17,000 in total, including that $12,000 for the booth. And he hasn't gotten a dime back. And I said, you should sue them. And I hope he does, and I hope he wins. Because that's outrageous that the con kicked him out because he's conservative. I mean, it'd be different if they refunded his money. At least you could say, well, you know, they kicked him out, but they refunded his money. They're going to take his money and kick him out of the con over what exactly? His politics? No. And you can see by the Gen Con logo, they've gone full DEI woke nonsense. I want no part of that. No, I'm not going to be a part of that nonsense. No, thank you. It has nothing to do with like, oh, you got to help marginalized people. Blah, 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 blah. You don't need to fly a rainbow flag to be nice. You could just be nice to people as individuals. I don't need to know your sexuality to be nice to you and polite. I don't need to have that thrown into my face. And by the way, you don't get to tell me how I should address you. You're not the Queen of England. Oh, you should address me as they, them. It's like Louis C.K. says, these people are like some sort of royalty telling me how to address them. Like, look, you want to do this pronoun game, whatever the F it is? It's one thing. There's a very tiny sliver of the population where that makes a huge difference, I guess. It's not the majority of these people. Sorry. I don't think these people know things. I think they just caught up in a trend and they just want more attention. You don't get to demand anything of me. Not the way I talk, not the way I think. And if you don't like it, okay, don't invite me to your stupid show. Let Gen Con die. There'll be other gaming cons. They're all over the country, in case you don't know. Gen Con just started at somebody's hotel somewhere. You'll be replaced very quickly. Bye, Gen Con. Alex Ogle, the lower three colors bands need to be lightened. I can't work out if they're trying to hide the con aspect or subtly draw attention to it. But Tony, how will you know how nice you are to me if you won't let me cram my intersectional mental baggage down your throat? Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's the other problem too. You have actually mentally ill people and narcissists jumping onto the bandwagon to make people do this stuff just because they want attention. You've had YouTubers go trans just to get hits. And watch that plummet to nothing. Watch when they enforce the rule that no, trans women can't compete against women. Watch how all the trans athletes magically disappear. They'll just magically disappear. Because unless there's a trans league, which there probably won't be enough trans people to make one in most sports, there won't be any point. There won't be any point to doing it. The only reason to do it was, I can't make it in the men's league. Okay, I'll dominate the women's league. So, we all know the scam is over. It's just a matter of time before the rest of the government and the stupid institutions that have been sucked into this finally get the message. Unfortunately, they're going to have to be punished. And again, hate to say it, but it comes back to a lot of woke women. Because the woke women are more vulnerable to this. Because women want to be nurturing. They want everybody to get along. So if you say to a guy, hey, call me by these pronouns, he might go, F you, I don't even know who you are. But if you say to a woman, hey, I'd really like it if you called me by these pronouns, she'd probably go, oh, don't worry, honey, I will. Because that's the way women are naturally nice like that. They want to be nurturing. But they don't understand they're being sucked down a Marxist nightmare that starts at being polite and ends with you marching in a parade, for things that you really don't want to support. Alex Ogle, I don't know. Brittany Griner seems like an obvious woman to me. Yeah, what's up with that? What is up with that? It's very strange. But don't worry, Joe Biden traded her the biggest weapons dealer in Russia for her? The comic industry collapsed this week again. Boom Studios is rumored to be teetering on bankruptcy. Surprise! Did you guys even ever hear of Boom Studios? Probably not. They licensed a bunch of stuff. That's probably the only stuff you've heard about. They had some original stuff, but you probably never would have heard of it. They're nice guys. I tried to get work with them, but they didn't give it to me. So, oh well. And then there was more transgender stuff coming out of Marvel. How's that doing? How's Marvel doing? Not so good. I met guys at the biker rally today who would love to get back into comics. And I said, well, I guess you could try to buy Marvel comics today. And they're like, oh, no. I met a guy who was complaining about comics in the 90s that they were too woke. He said, yeah, I got out of comics. I go, yeah, they're pretty bad today. He's like, oh, no, I got out of comics 30 years ago. Yeah, they're getting too woke. And I was like, oh, boy, you haven't seen the comics today, dude. It's like, I can't believe it. I actually stopped myself from telling him some of the worst stories from Marvel Comics because he was quoting stuff from the 90s he hated. He was talking about Onslaught. Remember the Onslaught crossover? Yeah, he hated that. He was so mad about it. I said, dude, you don't even know the crossovers they're doing now. You haven't seen the X-Men Gala. Oh, God. Yeah, it's the X-Men prom, everybody. Oh, we've got a male power fantasy. Yeah, let's put everybody in nice clothes and make them go to a dinner party. Yeah, that's not too girly. Hollywood Reporter, mostly the same headlines. Oh, here's one. Viggo Mortensen on respecting audiences. How scripts are key. Unless I'm broke. New Lord of the Ring. No new How scripts are key. Unless I'm broke. New Lord of the Rings films. Is he going to be in that? I don't think he should do more Lord of the Rings. I think it's fine the way it is. Oh, and speaking of comics, Alex Ogle, you know Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror program, Bandersnatch, where you could choose the story as it played? I have an idea for a movie technology where the audience's eyes are tracked. Obvious plot direction. One side of the screen is Brittany Griner, and the other side is Sydney Sweeney in a bikini. No need to film one option. Yeah, no, that's the future. At some point, they're going to develop something like that. But the problem is, it's going to get even crazier than that. I said this, I think, in another stream. The AI will just ask you what you want to see, and you'll be able to say, I want to see Sydney Sweeney in every role in a version of Star Wars combined with, I don't know, the Blues Brothers. And the AI will grind for a few minutes and then spit out that film. And it'll be insane. But it'll probably be very entertaining to me. You know, the comedy sketch I wanted to do, if I had the budget, was called Little Women, where the hottest girls ever are in it, and they're all topless, but they do the play exactly as it's written. And then as they move and their boobs jiggle, you hear boing, 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 boing every time their boobs jiggle, but like very lightly in the background of all the scenes. But the more women who are in the scenes, the more there's like boing, 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 boing. So the idea is you would take a scene from Little Women and shoot it with these topless girls, and just it would be overwhelmed with boing 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 boing, because there's a scene where they all get excited and they're all like jumping up and down, and I think it would be hilarious. But now I can make the AI do it. I won't have to shoot it. Alex Ogle, if Sydney Sweeney is in the AI, it wouldn't be spit out so much as ejaculated. Dun, 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 dun. Alex, yeah, you'll be able to do whatever the hell you want. So I'll just be able to say, I want to see 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator fight Sylvester Stallone and Cobra in a 2-hour movie. Boom. The AI will make it happen. Will it be good? Probably not, but that's the future of movies. So it's all going to be at home. You're not going to want to watch it. But what you'll do is you'll save the best ones for you and your friends. You know, you'll say, oh, the other day I said this to the AI and I got this great movie. You want to watch it? And then your friends might go, yeah, we'll check it out. And then they'll watch your movie, and maybe you watch one of theirs, and it'll be pretty good. Comic-Con. Dean Devlin's Electric Entertainment teams with Heidi McDonald's Comics Beat for daily news show. Now, Heidi McDonald, my understanding is that she's widely regarded as one of the woke people in the comic industry. And I want to say she's part of the Whisper Network that was rumored. I'm almost sure she was one of them. Heidi McDonald once reviewed one of my comics, The Travelers, and compared a scene which was not pornographic in any way, in my view, to porn. And I sort of never forgave her for that, because I felt it was just like way out of line. And I never got another review from her again. So that would be a big no for me, that Heidi McDonald would be the co-host of any kind of news show from Comic-Con. The whole Comic-Con really is a pointless endeavor for me. Alex Ogle, I can imagine Pride and Prejudice with the opening line. It is a truth universally acknowledged that, boing, a single man in the possession of good fortune must be in want of a wife, boing, boing. Yes. There's also Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is basically Pride and Prejudice with zombies somehow thrown in. So, again, the AI could do that. Or the AI could take your book and just make the movie, which could be amazing. You know? For people, especially for people who don't want to read, and there are a lot of people that way, they could just say, well, I really want to read this book. AI, could you make the movie of this book? And the AI will just read it in about 10 seconds and then generate the movie in a few minutes. Ryan Coogler gets another movie. He seems to be in the pipeline. He's the guy who directed the Black Panther sequel. I think he directed the first one too. Will Forte is in Tina Fey's 4-season TV series. I don't know why they're making a TV series out of a 4 Seasons movie. It's an old movie that starred Alan Alda, and now they're making a TV series based on it. I think it was a play originally. I don't know, man. They get an IP and they just beat it to death, it seems. I don't know why anybody would want to see a TV show called The 4 Seasons. It's just about 2 people who get together every year and have an affair. But whatever. If you're looking for something else that's going woke, the video game industry's gone pretty woke. Here, the Cyberpunk 2077 sequel associate director says the original game didn't push the envelope far enough with its social commentary. So that sounds like it's going to go super woke and will suck. So there you go. Be heads up on that. But the big news this week out of Marvel was the Captain America movie, Brave New World. The reshoots reportedly ballooned the budget to $375 million. It's like they're shooting a brand new movie. I've heard they've shot this movie at least 3 times, possibly 4. $375 million, that sounds like 4 times to me. The only thing, I mean, that's like $100 million every single time they reshot it almost. The only thing they're saving money on at this point is they could reuse a couple of scenes and some of the dialogue and, you know, maybe the credits and the costumes. It was so bad they were trying to shoot the movie without a script at one point. They were just shooting random fight scenes, hoping that later it would somehow be good for the film. Imagine that. Imagine just getting on the set. You're an actor. You have no script. They put you in full costume. You're in makeup for like an hour, putting on this stupid costume, and you get to the director, and he's like, and you have no idea what you're doing. No idea. And the director's like, well, we want to film a fight scene. Why don't you do this? Like, I would be so upset. And apparently, what's his name? Anthony Mackie blew up at the director. And I can't blame him for that at all. You know, actors blow up on the set, and it's usually some kind of minor scandal, but not that. That's an outrage that you ask a professional, and he's a professional actor. He's a good actor. You ask a professional actor to come on set, and you don't even have a script for him. It's pathetic. You couldn't just hire a guy to write a script? Ugh, it's pathetic. And a Captain America script, even Black Captain America, isn't hard to write. Yeah, he's got some baggage from the previous movies, but Jesus, it's not rocket science. They have way overthought this. They have super overthought this. They have no talent left in that department, in my view. In Disney, they are devoid of writing talent. Seems to be. Except maybe Inside Out, apparently. Maybe Pixar still has a few people. They should let them make the damn movie. I mean, you can't write a Captain America. How hard is it to write a scene? Okay, Captain America's the good guy. Who's the bad guy? Okay, this guy. Scenes. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's a comic book. It's usually pretty damn simple. Good guy, bad guy, they fight, the end. So look for that to stink up your theater soon, I think. And there's no way they're going to make this money. Is there any way this movie could remake $375 million and the money they're going to spend on promoting it? This movie will have to make $1 billion to break even, probably. If it goes by the formula, that's $750 million. They spent $375 on the movie. They spent $375 advertising it. That would be $750 million it would need to make. There's no way that movie. I don't think that movie's going to make. I don't know. I don't think it'll do 50. I don't think it'll crack 50 million the first weekend. That means it'll make about maybe 200 million, 300 million, and that'll be it. That'll be it. This is Indiana Jones Part 6. They might as well call it. And speaking of dumpster fires, the BBC refuses to acknowledge the terrible Doctor Who ratings, instead boasts that the series is the top drama for under 35s this year. And that's already been supplanted by another article because the finale was kind of a disaster. And they say, no, it's the top show for people under 16. As that's some kind of victory. The BBC has destroyed Doctor Who, just like Disney is destroying things. Well, Disney had a hand in destroying Doctor Who, too. They've turned it into the gayest show on television for no reason. Doctor Who had nothing to do with sexuality. Nothing. Never saw a Doctor Who episode, when I watched it, that had anything to do with sex. Anyway. They didn't even mention his girlfriend. I mean, he married his co-star, Tom Baker. They didn't even mention that in the show. It was just sort of like lightly implied that they were an item. And that was it. That was it. Some of the other side characters maybe would get married or have relationships, but it wasn't really part of the show. It was definitely not the focus. Oh my God. Being gay is so front and center in the show. They might as well call it Dr. Pride. I mean, it's, again, you might as well paint the TARDIS rainbow colors and slap dildos on it. It's that gay. And, I can't imagine this appeals to gay people. Like, gay people are just attracted to the same sex. That's it. They're not constantly telling you, hey, I'm gay. Hey, remember? I'm gay. Hey, you, I'm gay. They're not constantly telling you that. They're just living their lives. They just happen to be attracted to the same sex. I know gay people. They're not constantly in my face with their gayness. It's known. So what? It's known I like strippers and cheerleader outfits. So what? So what? I don't tell people. I'm not constantly going, God, why aren't there more strippers and cheerleader outfits here? Well, why aren't they represented on television? This guy could be a guy who likes strippers and cheerleader outfits, but we don't know that. Why doesn't he say something? Like, I don't need that in every show I watch. It's ridiculous. Everybody in the BBC should be fired. Everybody. I think if Nigel Farage finally gets to be Prime Minister, you'll see a big change because the BBC is run by the government. And they're talking about privatizing the whole damn thing. And then it'll probably fall off a cliff and you'll get something akin to normal television. Maybe. But we'll see. Might be a while, though. All right, moving on to Deadline. Oh, finally a debate. Finally a debate article. I had to go all the way to Deadline. Biden shows his age as Trump tosses out one whopper after another with no fact-checking from CNN moderators. Again, that's how Deadline covers this. It's a very skewed way of covering it. They didn't fact-check anybody live. So they didn't fact-check Biden's whoppers either until after the show. Oh, then they fact-checked the F out of them. Alex Ogle, RTD's plan for Doctor Who was obvious even back in 2005. The BBC had the sense to rein him in back then. Yeah, now he's unleashed and fabulous. Yeah, I don't... He should be fired. Fortunately, he's embarrassing himself now. He's going to have to be constantly out there because next season, and they'll probably renew him for next season, it's going to be even worse. They'll go under 2 million. They'll definitely go under 2 million. No one could take a second season of this gay doctor. No one's going to watch it. At this point, I don't even know if those numbers are legit. Sam Rogers is here. Hello, Sam Rogers. Welcome. But yeah, the debate, they didn't check anybody until after the debate. And then they did check Biden and Trump. But the way they framed everything was like, well, we all know Trump's a liar, but let's see what Biden lied about. Like, well, we're all tired of talking about Trump's lies. Now we're going to talk about Biden's lies. And they didn't even do them all. That's the best part. But they did do quite a few of them. It didn't look good for Biden. But they couldn't help themselves. They're constantly reminding everybody, oh, don't worry, we hate Trump, but here's what Biden lied about. So I didn't watch most of the post-debate stuff. I just, I was too busy watching the reactions. Anything else drop? Let's see. Kevin Costner reveals he was sick while making Hidden Figures, worked 10 days under an IV drip. Oh, Jesus. So this is another movie he did. Unfortunately, the American Saga movie doesn't seem to be doing well, Horizon, but maybe it'll pick up next week. Razor Fist liked it. He's a tough audience. I don't know why people like A Quiet Place, but people love that too. It looks okay. Sam Rogers, he has the media on his side and he still lost. Yeah. Bigly he lost. Oh my God, he lost the CNN poll. How do you lose that when you're a Democrat? This was very sad news this week. Beloved comic and actor Martin Mull died at 80. I love Martin Mull. I was one of big fans of his. He used to do a show called Fernwood Tonight with, oh gosh, Can't think of the other guy's name. Oh, God. I can't think of his name. But really funny guy. He did one of the funniest episodes of Get a Life. If you haven't seen Get a Life, it starred Chris Elliott as a paper boy, but he's a grown adult. It's a very funny show. And Martin Mull did the funniest effing episode of that. The premise is, so Chris Elliott is a paper boy who's a grown man, but he's living with his parents. And he is a big fan of Martin Mull's character, who's on TV for something. I forget what. A local TV. So Chris Elliott's character wins a contest. And the contest is he gets to spend 24 hours with the character, with Martin Mull. So it starts out typical, like Martin Mull shows up and he doesn't want to hang out with Chris at all. He's doing he had to do the contest like this, like the local affiliate forced him to do the contest, and he hates Chris and they don't get along. And so they do this montage where he spends the day with Chris Elliott. And as you're watching the montage, Chris is having a great time and Martin Mull is not. But as the montage continues, Martin Mull starts to warm up to Chris, but then Chris starts to sour on Martin Mull. So by the end of the montage, Chris is, he's like, I can't stand this guy. And Martin Mull is loving life. So then it cuts to after the montage, and now Martin Mull doesn't want to leave, and it's been 24 hours. And Chris Elliott's trying to get rid of him, but Martin Mull is now like his best friend. Oh, it's one of the funniest episodes you'll ever see. Sam Rogers, Joe Biden reminds me of a Make-A-Wish kid where you're supposed to let them win. The Trump wouldn't let him. Yeah, he was just a zombie. I mean, he's just a mummy up there. God. I mean, he froze up. From the moment he walked out, he looked bad. And then the moment he opened his mouth, I was like, what's wrong with his voice? Number one. Number two, he was talking super fast in the beginning. Like, way too fast. Like, he had taken a bunch of coke right before he went out there. And I was just like, this is no way. And then I was like, look at his eyes. Look at his eyes. They obviously had him drugged up to his eyeballs. Sam Rogers, sorry, using voice detect. Oh, no big deal. I knew you meant Joe Biden. I knew you meant Joe Biden. Even with the Y, it looked like Biden. Yeah, it was a massacre. Trump massacred him at every level. And again, I really am tempted to ask my older relatives what they thought of the debate, but I really don't want to get into another argument with them, but we'll see. Alex Ogle, I don't know what he said, and I don't think he does either. Mic drop. Yeah, that was the moment. It was over. The moment he said that, and it was true. Like, you couldn't argue with it. It wasn't like Trump was lying or making a sassy comment. You could totally see, yep, I don't understand what he's saying either. And it was done. He was cooked. So Marvel dropped surprise, not safe for work, Red Band, Deadpool, and Wolverine teaser. This one featured Sabretooth in his real form. Like, for years, the Marvel movie guys would do movies with Marvel characters and try to make them not quite their characters, to try to make them more like the actors and less like the comic book characters, not understanding that we wanted the comic book characters exactly as they look in the comic. Like, I would try to tell these Hollywood guys all the time, no, they want exactly what's in the comic. The closer you get to the comic, the more they'll like it. But the Hollywood guys don't understand that. They refuse to understand it. They refuse to acknowledge it. And they insist on making changes. Because everybody, that's all in Hollywood does. Everybody in Hollywood's like, oh, I put nipples on the Batman costume. I put nipples on the Batman costume. Praise me, everybody. So it's only in the fact that they're in such dire straits now, and that Ryan Reynolds kind of understands what audiences want, that they're actually doing something people want. So you're going to get to see Sabretooth and Wolverine fight, and you're going to get to see all these fights. I think you see the Hulk fight Wolverine in one scene in the movie. There's going to be like 1 million fights in this movie. It's probably going to do $1 billion. They're estimating a very high returns on this, by the way. I'm probably going to go see it. I saw the other two. I like them. The only thing I'm worried about is the whole time travel alternate universe thing and the ending. I'm worried about the ending. And the one negative I heard from about Deadpool and Wolverine is that they kind of cucked out Ryan Reynolds' character in that he's no longer with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend has moved on and found another guy, which undermines the first two movies almost completely. And that's very bad. I don't know why they would do that, but because he saves her twice, and it's like, no, don't do that. But I think I don't know, it might just be an alternate version of Deadpool's history or something. I'll show you guys this. This was kind of cool this week if you didn't see my Hollywoke Hot Take. This is a super fan who built a $2.5 million Spider-Man luxury home theater. So check this out. This is the entrance to his theater. That's pretty cool. And then he built this room, which isn't the theater. It's like got like Spider-Man memorabilia. God, it's huge. It's got statues and posters, and I'm sure these are a bunch of the comics. Then he's got this room. I think this is the screen here. Sam Rogers. I remember liking the animated film Wolverine vs. Hulk. Yeah, I mean, give the fans what they want. So he's got a whole room here with like Spider-Man statues, all the different costumes, and then I guess this is the theater, and you all sit around here on the giant couch and watch movies and eat popcorn. And then I think there's one more room. Yeah, he's got a whole snack bar and a popcorn machine. That's a pretty badass theater. He must be a huge, huge Spider-Man fan. Alex Ogle. Oh, I had an idea for the next Mad Max Universe film. Max returns to the water tower where he left Furiosa and the woman in charge to find it dried husk because their social justice approach to handing out the water has squandered it all, and he works with a group to find a fresh well. Solid enough. Yeah. So in other words, the women ruin a good thing? Sure, I could see it happening. If I was going to do Mad Max, if I was going to do Furiosa, what I would have done is I would have set Furiosa in the time before the collapse, because Mad Max's character lived during the collapse of society. That's the first movie. The civilization hasn't collapsed. It's in the process of collapsing. So I would have set Furiosa in that collapse like Mad Max movie was, because it takes place years before. Instead, they set it in the desert. It looks just like the Fury Road movie. It's dumb. Also, if I was going to do a Mad Max movie with Tom Hardy, I would have at least one flashback scene of Tom Hardy as Mad Max prior to the fall of civilization, and I would set up whatever it was during that time period, and then I would fast forward to Mad Max in the present, and then he has to deal with this character that he had a run in the beginning. Maybe like a crazy serial killer or something. Like, that would be cool, right? So you get to see the villain before the collapse of civilization. Or maybe he's maybe he's a kingpin, whatever, drug dealer. Or maybe he's nothing. But Mad Max arrests them. And then later, like 20 years later, He's like running some town, and he's like the big warlord, and Mad Max has to take him down. Beautiful. Beautiful, I say. All right. What else we got? More on Inside Out 2. The Umbrella Academy showrunner accused of toxic bullying behavior by 12 writers and support staff. Ooh, toxic bullying behavior, everyone. Call the HR. I feel toxic bullying. And the reason I say that is because this is the same show that Elliot Page is on. You're telling me there's toxic bullying going on his show? His, I don't know what her pronouns are these days. You're telling me that show, the showrunner is so toxic and bullying. I bet they're not toxic and bullying with Elliot. I'll tell you right now. Because that would have been front page news. I suspect strongly that it's not as bad as they say, but who knows? Alex Ogle, toxic bullying, asking for deliverables on time? Probably. The Boys showrunner Eric Kripke says Amazon asked for digital product placement. No thanks, but we're definitely making a joke about it. Alex Ogle criticizing the obviously bad ideas? Probably. That's another comic book, by the way. The Umbrella Academy was perfectly fine as a comic book, but they changed it partly for Elliot and partly for other reasons. The Boys, I'm totally done with The Boys. That show went woke. And Eric Kripke, again, it's like they appoint these showrunners and they become little kingdoms of their own fiefdoms. If I was the studio, I would crush this guy. I would crush him. I would call him into my office and I would yell at him until he left my office in tears. And I would promise him his career would be nothing if he didn't do what I told him to do. That's what should happen. But no, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. If I so much as raised my voice to him, I'm sure he'd sue me. So, your shows must go. All your shows must go, woke tards. Goodbye. Goodbye, woke tards. All right. What else? Moving on to Cosmic Book News. Warner Brothers laughs at Star Wars. Here comes Dune 3. I don't know, man. Dune 3 is based on Dune the Messiah. I hear that's not a very good book, but you could make a good movie out of it. I mean, American Psycho was a pretty good movie, and that is a terrible book, I hear. But that may be because it's kind of misogynist, and some of the women didn't like that book, but I don't know. So Dune 3, I definitely think will be a hit. And I definitely think the Star Wars movie will be a joke with Daisy Ridley. I mean, come on. And if they make a second season of The Acolyte, I mean, you could probably just write off Disney. I mean, I think that will be... I mean, that's like peak what the F are you doing if they make a season 2 of that. Mr. Solomon, American Psycho is a rough read because of the torture stuff, but it's a great book. Interesting. Yeah, that's why I suspected, like, you know, I heard the criticism of it, but, you know, maybe it's just because of the torture. People said that they didn't want to praise torture. George Clooney rumored for Marvel. Fans think it could be a cameo as the original comic book version of Nick Fury in the Avengers. Okay, so they're just dropping. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson has pretty much wokeified Nick Fury somehow. He wasn't a bad Nick Fury in the beginning. He was okay. I thought it was a weird casting call because, Samuel L. Jackson just sounds like Samuel L. Jackson and everything, and I'm so sick of his shtick. I wish he'd do something different because he's not incapable of acting. I mean, he's acted in other stuff before, but God, I mean, after a while, it's just like, come on, man. Can you be in something else? Be a little different? I don't know. Have hair. Put on a hat. Something. Alex Ogle. Messiah is a good book, but not very adaptable to a film. Villeneuve will struggle to not ruin Herbert's story. Well, I guess we'll see. I think it'll do okay because it's the third in a trilogy. I think they're going to have some payoffs. They probably kept a couple of things from 1 and 2 that they didn't pay off yet, so maybe. Hopefully they don't change too much. But I don't know. Ryan Coogler heads to Universal for comic book movie A Vicious Circle. Never heard of that comic. So maybe. At least it sounds more original. Chris Pratt would join James Gunn in the DCU? I'm sure he would. Let's see. Who could Pratt be in the DCU? He's too friendly for Batman. He would have been a decent Superman. But he is a little old if they want to go younger, so they did. Who else? I mean, he's not skinny enough to do the Flash. His personality would fit, though. Who could he do? Alex Ogle. George Clooney is still alive? I thought he coffee potted himself to death. No. He's too busy helping his wife do politics behind the scenes. Like, his wife's really into politics. It was something to do with the Israeli-Hamas war. I forget exactly. It's very controversial. He's also fundraising like crazy for Biden, apparently. Chris Pratt in the DCU. Maybe Martian Manhunter? Although he doesn't really have a gregarious personality. He's kind of quiet. He's too old to be Nightwing. He could be Jericho from the new Teen Titans, but he's kind of old for that because it's supposed to be Teen Titans. Green Arrow? He's kind of bulky for that too. Sam Rogers, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel? They already got a Captain Marvel, though. Sam Rogers, I mean Shazam. I don't think they're going to do him for a while. And then I think they intend to bring back Zachary Levi. I mean, you'd have to put him in like a black headpiece. I don't know. Maybe he's not quite cut enough for that. He's built pretty big. He'd be, body-wise, he'd be good for Solomon Grundy. But he's a villain. I don't think he would take a villain gig, but that would be pretty funny if he was Solomon Grundy. I like Solomon Grundy. I think he's very underused. Sam Rogers, not serious about it. I'm just saying it. Alex Ogle, Shazam, the superhero who can identify any tune within a few bars? Ha ha ha. Oh, God. Aquaman, maybe, but they've kind of burned up Aquaman, and they're kind of getting away from him. And I think Momoa is going to be Lobo. Chris Pratt could do Lobo. I think he's built for Lobo. It's not really his personality, but that could be fun. Gosh, who the hell's left? Green Lanterns are basically all taken. Sam Rogers, I'm just saying stuff. He's just goofing around, that Sam Rogers. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I guess they'd have to pull from the ranks of really old characters or really, obscure ones. Like, there probably is a character in the Justice Society that would fit him. The problem with DC is there's not a ton of characters. They're all centered around basically the same 5 characters: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and maybe like Martian Manhunter is usually the 5th one. Beyond that, they're all second tier. And a lot of them are young because they're Titans. The Teen Titans is sort of the next tier, and they were all supposed to be teenagers. And they were really, it was DC's attempt to make the X-Men. Sam Rogers, goodbye guys, great stream. Thanks for coming in, Sam. Good to see you. Alex Ogle, Solomon Grundy. The only Grundy I know is Eddie Grundy from the BBC radio agricultural drama, The Archers. Longest running broadcast drama in the world. Will he even met those cows? Alex Ogle says, good night, Sam. No, Solomon Grundy was on the Super Friends. Yeah, it's not a lot of good characters left in DC. Sam Rogers, it's morning for me, but all the same. Where are you, Sam Rogers? Morning? What time is it? Oh my gosh, it's 10:03. I got to start wrapping up anyway. A couple more stories. Rachel Zegler's Snow White movie is finally finishing filming, so we're that much closer to it bombing. The Mortal Kombat 2 test screening reaction, lots of death and gore, so maybe that's good. Somehow they're renewing The Boys Season 5. I mean, the ratings were high, even though the show has apparently gone woke. Apparently they're sticking by it. Sam Rogers, God bless you guys. God bless you, Sam Rogers. That's the second time I've been blessed today. I am blessed. And I think we're just about at the end here. Oh, and then Agatha is coming. The show that has been renamed like 5 times. It's called, what is it called now? Agatha All Along. It's a shame because this actress is very funny. What the hell's her name? Catherine Hahn. Catherine Hahn has been in a bunch of funny shows, and this show could have been cool and funny, but I strongly suspect it's super woke and stupid. Maybe Catherine Hahn can pull it into the comedy area where it might work better, but I doubt it. I don't think she has that kind of pull. Tatiana Maslany, she also could have pulled it into comedy more, but I don't think she had that kind of pull either. Sam Rogers, Australia. Now I really am going away. Oh, wow. Bye, Sam. Yeah, this Agatha All Along. I mean, at this point, I think Disney's just throwing stuff up because what else are they going to do? What else are they going to do? They have to have new content. Alex Ogle, anything with witches deserves the appropriate opprobrium. Ooh. Unless it's Macbeth. I got witches in the Pineys. But the thing is, you got to treat witches correctly, I think. Witches in literature are always symbols of chaos. And that's what they are. They're symbolic of chaos. And if you're not doing that with them, you're kind of not doing the witches right, in my view. So, and they usually don't do them cool. See, here, I think it's just an excuse to do a bunch of feminist nonsense where, oh, women are powerful, everybody. And witches. See, witches were the real power back in the day, and they were pagans, and they were persecuted by the church and the patriarchy, and they're all good. Blah, 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 blah. Alex Ogle, like French virgins, if you can find them. Virgins. Oh, goodness. It is past 10, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. So let's get our final thoughts in. What did we learn on this fine day? We learned that Inside Out 2 has legs for days and is the top grossing movie for the 3rd week in a row. And that is something I did not expect at all. Disney had such a losing streak. I just assumed this would bomb like the rest of the movies. But it did not bomb. It is a monster and cracked $1 billion this month. Or this week. What else we learned? Well, we learned the debate was an S show. But we all knew that. We all learned that a few days ago. We learned things about women and life that I like to talk about. My personal opinions. It's all just my opinion. I don't know why people get mad at me for stating my opinion, but they do. It's been happening a long time. I'm used to it now. But, you know, I appreciate the other Alex coming in here earlier with his controversial views that didn't agree with me. But, you know, that happens once in a while. Once in a while. He was polite. I'll allow it. Alex Ogle, of course, pitched me many Sydney Sweeney ideas, and we all agree that her boobs are great. That boobs in general are great, and should probably be in more movies. If I had to pick all the movies that were listed this week that should have boobs in them, let's see. If this was the early 80s, I'll say the early 80s, Inside Out 2, no boobs. A Quiet Place would have some boobs. A little bit of boob. Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1, absolutely would have boobs. Bad Boys, Ride or Die, boobs. Yep, there'd be a stripper scene. The Bike Riders, 100%. There's probably boobs in that one. Garfield movie, no boobs. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, boobs. Just a little bit of boob. Kinds of Kindness probably has boobs. Probably not quality boobs, though. That's probably going to be artistic boobs. Not the same. IF, kids movie, no boobs. Thelma, no boobs. That's a comedy about an old lady. That one's anime. Could go either way. Fall Guy, should have boobs, no boobs. Janet Planet, another art house movie, probably no boobs. The Strangers, Chapter 1, horror movie, absolutely would have boobs. Robot Dreams, it's a cartoon. It's a foreign cartoon, but it has no women in it, I don't think, so no boobs. Ghostlight, I forget what that movie is. Babes would absolutely have boobs. It might have boobs in the movie, but it's a feminist movie, so it won't be a fun booby time. It'll be depressing and sad. Last Summer, I don't know what that is. I saw the TV Glow. It's like a transgender allegory, so again, no quality boobs. Tuesday, I'm not sure what that is. The Vordelok would absolutely have boobs because it's a classic. So there'd probably be a scene with a bathtub or somebody getting out of a river naked. A girl. In a violent nature, absolutely 100% boobs. It's a horror movie, slasher film, and it would have boobs. So you see, in the 80s, boobs were in most of the movies. And that's why the movies did better. So if you've learned anything today, learn this. Put boobies in your film. Alex Ogle, missing comment. Burn them all at the stake, not the original spelling. Oh, you're talking about the witches. Yes. Well, that's what you do, the witches. You burn the witches. Yes. And why do you burn the witches? Well, in the Pineys, you burn the witches because witches can't die. So the only thing you could do with them is burn them to ash so they don't keep running around causing chaos. Alex Ogle, there's a reason 80s movies were better. Yes. Boobs. So, thank you for tuning in. And thank you to Indie Phantom for becoming a subscriber. So I got a new subscriber this month. So that's nice to see. What else is going on? Upcoming, we got the 4th of July. So I don't have anything going on until Sunday, July 7th, which will be the I Heart Horror Show that got delayed due to the storm a few weeks ago. Or last weekend, I should say. And so I'll be at that on July 7th. What am I going to do with my week? Well, hopefully I'm going to be editing Book 15 of the Pineys and getting some more events for July and August. I got to shore up my July and fill up the rest of my August. Let's see. How many events do I have for July? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's not too bad. I'd like to get about 2 more. And then August, I only got 1, 2, 3, 4 events. So I definitely need some more events for August. So I'll be doing that and finishing off this summer, which has been great so far. So I'm psyched for book 13. I'm psyched for more events. And I'm psyched for next week's live stream where we do it live. I might do the live stream on Saturday next week because the I Heart Horror thing, you may remember, was from like 5 to 9. So I might have to do it a different day because it's gonna go right in. I have to go because my teeth are floating, man. I gotta hit the bathroom. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.